People Power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It is 10 minutes after 6 on the 17th of January 2022. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. Happy New Week, happy Monday, wherever you're tuned in this morning or this evening or tonight, depending on where you are. Karibuni sana to the Kipindi. Ndu,
Bonjour.
how was your weekend?
Fantastic, thank you.
Hey, where? Sour.
How are you?
I'm fine.
You're good?
Yes.
Good.
City,
Yes.
how was your weekend?
Quiet.
Yeah,
Quiet.
just like that.
Uneventful. I purpose to make my weekends uneventful. Yes. Because the whole week, Monday to Friday, is full of events.
So you cut back on the events.
Yes. The only traveling I do is in my mind.
Me too.
Yes, I find, and I seek solitude, a bit difficult when you have a family, but it's achievable.
Sometimes it works.
Sometimes it works. When they're not there, it works perfectly.
How are you, Eric?
I'm well. Yes. Yes. I also had a quiet weekend. Just indoors. Seeking solitude. The elusive solitude. Welcome to the conversation, everybody. Today we'll have various discussions. It's the 17th, and this is the day that the IEBC has been talking about. So they launched the enhanced voter registration exercise today until the end of the month, and they want to capture as many people as possible to be newly registered voters. So they will be rolling out this exercise, and we'll have a commissioner of the IEBC joining us. Commissioner Justice Nyang'aya will be here at 7. At 8, let's talk about coalitions. We have the One Kenya Alliance. We have the Azimio la Umoja. We have the UDA. We have all this, and there's all talk of how people are going to come together and form coalitions. What's the future of coalitions in this country? Johnson Sakaja, the senator for Nairobi County, will be joining us, and we'll talk about this. Remember, that bill, the Political Parties Amendment Bill, is in the Senate now. It passed the National Assembly. It's now in the Senate. If it passes the Senate, it goes to the President for assent. It becomes law, and it comes in with several changes to how we govern our political parties and coalitions. Let's begin with COVID.
All right, let's take a look at what's going on around the world. 328,775,317. That's the tally that we're looking at worldwide. Let's take a look into Kenya. First of all, 310 new cases from a sample size of 3,961 tested positive. In the last 24 hours, according to CS Muthui Kagwe, new cases represent a positivity rate of 7.8%. It's the lowest in the last 8 weeks, which is a good thing. We're probably going to see maybe a higher number going into the week. Samples taken over the weekend, usually lower. But still good positivity rate of 7.8. Not looking at anything highly detrimental at the moment. If we look on the other side of the pond, however, in the US and western part of Europe, things are not looking really pretty. And the questions that we're asking last week, we're seeing these high numbers of cases, but are we seeing high hospitalizations? Yes, we are now. 26,000 people who've tested positive for COVID-19 in the US are in severe conditions in America today. High numbers now of severe cases of COVID, and the health system is taking a beating, according to what they are saying. The U.S. Supreme Court has also jumped into this, and they've blocked Joe Biden's mandate for the workplace vaccine. Right? So the U.S. Supreme Court has blocked President Joe Biden's rule requiring workers at large companies to be vaccinated or masked and tested weekly. The justices at the nation's highest court said the mandate exceeded the Biden administration's authority. So you can't come and tell us you must be vaccinated or you can't come to work or you must mask to come to work. Sorry, but your administration, your authority as a president it's above your pay grade for you to be able to do that, basically. They ruled that a more limited vaccine mandate could stand for staff at government-funded healthcare facilities. So if it is a government organization, then maybe you can talk about wearing masks. But you can't even yet talk about
Can't force people to take the vaccine.
His approval rating has been sagging, unfortunately, and they've expressed disappointment with the decision to block common sense life-saving requirements for employees. He says, come on, folks, this is common sense in the first place. Second place, we're talking about saving lives with these vaccines. And he had called on Fortune 100 companies. He had called on larger corporates. Come on, guys. Tell your folks, get vaccinated.
Or don't come to work. Or not get fired.
Okay, yes, essentially. Basically, not come to work means ever.
Common sense is it about?
So it looks like the trampling of civil liberties is front and center in this conversation. That is what we are looking at now.
All right, at 6:15, this is Kenya's biggest conversation, live streaming on SpiceFM KE on Facebook and YouTube. Are you online? Because we are online on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram. Say hello to us from wherever you are locked in this morning, and we'll be saying hello to you shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person. Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
The group of leaders we are having now, Kenyans, listen, the chemical composition is the same. You will mold them to ODM, then NASA, you mold them to Kano, mold them to Jubilee, mold them to any other different color sometimes, but the chemical composition is the same.
It's not about me as Nurdin Haji, but it's about the constitution that I swore to protect. So when individuals attempt to hoard those powers and they want to be investigators and also prosecutors, then of course I have to defend that position because that position is in the constitution and that's what Kenyans wanted.
I'll tell you what happens is that when you ignore court orders, you're creating and quoting anarchy. Then you create a very dangerous precedent.
A story is told of the first president of the country who also went to visit Madare, presidential tour. Yeah? And of course, he went to this place and he introduced himself. So one of the enemies says, hata wewe kuna jina kama yangu.
The Situation Room. Kenya's biggest conversation.
There's a slight drizzle in Nairobi this morning at
The
16.
weather
Highs of
with
22 and lows of
SpiceFM.
15 today. 15 and light rain in Nakuru as well. 21 will be the high today, back down to lows of 15. Light rain in Nyeri at 14, highs of 24. And Eldoret is raining as well at 15, highs of 19 and lows of 13. Looking into Mombasa, mostly cloudy conditions, beckoning rain, highs of 33 and lows of 25. It's mostly cloudy at 26 and Malindi, highs of 31. Today. Kisumu raining as well at 20, highs of 25 and lows of 18, while in Kakamega raining at 17, mostly highs of 24 and lows of 16. Looking down into Kampala right here, raining as well, 18 degrees, highs of 23 and lows of 17. Dar es Salaam 27 and mostly cloudy, highs of 32, back down to lows of 27 through Monday. In Johannesburg, mostly cloudy conditions at 16, highs of 21 and lows of 15, while in Lagos it's clear at 25, also highs of 32. All right, we're looking at Kinshasa, it's mostly clear at 22, highs of 29 today. Out in Beijing, 3 degrees and sunny going into early afternoon Monday. We'll see highs of 4 and lows of minus 10. Paris is cloudy at 6, highs of 7 and lows of 3, while in London it's cloudy at 4, highs of 9. Back down to lows of 4, and still Sunday night in New York, it's a wet Sunday at 2 degrees. That'll be the high for today. Coming into Monday, we'll see lows of 0.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
6.
Good morning, everybody. Tho Weche is tuned in this morning. Tho Weche. Okay. Andrew Franklin says, good morning, listening from Bernarda Estate where electricity has been off since 2 a.m. Hell of a week, a way to start the week. Indeed. That's quite something. Cyprian Mora says, good morning, team. Locked in from Nakuru. Robert Bogo is also tuned in this morning and he's in Mombasa. Kalalani in Kwale County is where Ben is this morning. And Kimanti says, good morning, watching live from Nyeri. Sir Eric Baraza Musungu says, good morning, sir. Eric here, watching from Mombasa. Hamza in Nairobi is where Daniel Kirima is. And Godfrey Muhatia says, good morning. And Dollar Junior Jose says, locked from Kaloleni as well. Kaloleni folks have woken up this morning, innit?
Which Kaloleni?
This one here.
There are so many Kalolenis. Kaloleni Machakos, Kaloleni Mombasa, Kaloleni Nairobi.
Nairobi.
How do you know?
Because he says Hamza. Oh, no, it's somebody
Hamza
else.
Makadara is different.
It's different. Okay, so I don't know. Je ne sais pas, monsieur.
Hey, Jose, which Kaloleni are you in?
Kaloleni is Kaloleni. Karibuni sana, thanks for joining us this morning.
Karibuni. City?
Kaloleni is actually not Kaloleni.
It isn't, is it?
Nope, it's Kaloleni, Nairobi. Yeah. In Kisumu, there is Kaloleni.
Yeah, that's what Eric was saying.
In Mombasa, there's Kaloleni.
There's one in Machakos as well.
And there's Kaloleni Giriama. Yeah, that's not just a town, it's an entire location. So Kaloleni, si Kaloleni.
Kaloleni, si Kaloleni.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Jangwa la simba halikosekani mfupa. Very simply put, the hunting grounds of a lion does not lack a bone. Yes.
What's the word for bone?
Mfupa.
Did you say mfupa in that statement?
I did.
Oh, okay.
What did you hear?
I just needed to confirm.
Fuko.
Or mfupi.
I wasn't sure.
Jango la simba halikosekani mfupa. Okay.
The stomping ground of lions is not void of bones.
Well put.
Let's see.
Stomping ground.
Yes. Stomping. Msikia baba kizungu.
Sawa basi. Tumesikia. Let's take a look at the papers. Do you have access to the Standard e-paper? You can get access to the Standard e-paper and it's only how much per day?
10 shillings.
Yes. And with that, access to free Standard archives for 10 days. You have access to free Sudoku, free crossword puzzle, plus all the premium content on the Standard. www.standardmedia.co.ke. What are you looking at in the papers, Ndu?
So, this story of this ACK divorced priest bothered you a bit last week, didn't it? Well, it's bothering more people even more.
It's a different one, actually. Go on.
Ish. How many ACK priests have what's going on?
This is a different one.
Okay, anyway. For the last 2 Sundays, congregants at the Anglican Church of Kenya, parish in Muthui, Nyeri County, have held service from just outside the church's gates after their lead priest was sacked for failing to get a wife. Clearly, it's a different story. Ostracized by the church, but revered by his flock, Archdeacon John Gashau, yesterday found himself at the center of a dramatic morning, during which worshippers escorted him to church from his house and demanded that he lead them in prayers. This went against an order by Bishop Joseph Kagunda, who heads the Mount Kenya West Diocese, banishing him from the church because he is unmarried. Bishop Kagunda gave Mr. Gashau 6 months to find a wife. Sorry. Or lose his job.
That one, you've really begun on a high spiritual note, haven't you?
Sorry. 6 months to find a wife or lose his job. When the ultimatum lapsed in December, 6 months are over, Bishop Kagunda wrote to Mr. Gashau demanding he hands over the parish by January 1st. Following our verbal conversation and your written request, we write to remind you that our deadline on the issue of re-establishing your dysfunctional family was December 31st, 2021, reads the letter in part. Every priest is expected to fashion the lives of himself and that of his members of his family in such a manner that may adorn the gospel of our Lord and his Savior and may serve a profitable example to the lay membership of the fellowship. Kindly hand over the parish to Reverend Karimi Gathuku, organized by January 1st, 2020, according to Bishop Kagunda. Now, according to the ACK Constitution, it is mandatory for a priest to have a wife. Since 2014, the bishop had been embroiled in a legal suit against 3 of his priests. He accused Mr. Gashau of homosexuality, because, if you don't have a wife, you must be a homosexual, according to this.
No. You go on.
Ruling on the 4th-year court battle, Justice Brian Ogaya said the dismissal of 3 clerics was unfair and ordered that they be reinstated. On October 1st, 2018, the priest reported to Bishop Kagunda for redeployment. Faced with these allegations, Mr. Gashau's wife deserted him, and efforts to reunite her with her husband failed even after he was cleared by the court. But worshippers have defended Mr. Gashau, saying he was being victimized without cause. Yesterday, they marched with him from his home and led him to church, demanding his services, holding placards written, "Wives are not brought in the supermarkets." Wives are not bought in the supermarkets.
BBC
And waving twigs, the worshippers sang and danced as they led him to the church. More than 500 meters away at the gates, they read a decree to Mr. Gashau, asking him to continue leading them. He obliged, opening the gates and led them into the church. He said, "I'm ready to serve you as your wish and demands." He, however, declined to speak to journalists. This feud between Bishop Kagunda and Mr. Gashau has been going on for so long. It is starting to appear like a personal vendetta against our priest. The bishop should allow our archdeacon to continue leading us. I mean, what's the problem? He has done no wrong, and we see no point in sacking him. Whoever they send to replace Mr. Gashau is not welcome here. These people are not playing. There were many priests without wives or husbands. This one, Mr. Gashau, will go nowhere, Mr. Karaoke added. His replacement, Reverend Gathagu, has already reported at the church, but worshippers have dismissed him and demanded that Mr. Gashau leads them. They have threatened to leave the diocese should the bishop continue with his demands that Mr. Gashau marries first.
Wait, he had a wife.
Mr.
There was
Gashau had a wife.
Wife gone.
Wife left.
Okay,
so he's been without.
So do they stipulate whether he's divorced or is
Yes, he's
separated?
divorced.
Yes.
He's divorced, yes.
Yeah, but so
it's not, this is not about his inability to get married. He can. He just,
Look, if it's in the Anglican Church of Kenya's constitution,
yes,
then the bishop has got to enforce the constitution, in my opinion. And he's following due process. He's written and said, within 6 months, you just come and tell us at least, kuna mtu umeona, you're in talks, something. Demonstrate. Secondly, even the way you've read the story, it appears as if there have been these allegations of homosexuality. And then the wife deserted him.
Yeah.
Based on the allegations.
Right.
Who would best know how to deal with this man, if not the wife? Why did the wife leave?
We've not been given the full reasons as to why.
Actually, why are you going that far? On matters of a married couple, who really knows what goes on except those two?
Those two know.
And the walls, my friend.
Yes, so anybody else coming in, my friend,
Hearsay.
you are entering a situation half-cocked. You do not have all the information. You don't.
Indeed.
Yes, it is in the Constitution, but there's a little detail, and far be it from me to advise bishops and to suggest that I know more than a bishop of the church. No. Why did this thing have to get into the public domain? Why did it have... Because
Gashau took it to the public domain.
Oh, the congregants went to Gashau and told him, we don't want anybody else to preach to us.
Before all these things, when the bishop wrote to Gashau and said, do A, B, C, D, Gashau went to court.
Yeah, he did.
My question again, why did it have to be in the public domain? Because this same policy and this same scripture that the bishop quotes lays down procedures for settling issues that are thorny.
Yes.
Now, that article doesn't indicate that those processes were followed. There's a whole process. That same scripture actually advises strongly about bringing issues that are within the church into the so-called public domain. It advises strongly against it. So, it's not just the bishop. Man, that church has elders.
There's a full hierarchy, guys,
Yes.
in the Anglican Church.
There is.
By the time the bishop is actually writing to the archdeacon, because this is not just a junior pastor,
No.
it's a senior clergy.
Yes.
By the time the bishop is taking action on the archdeacon, be sure that the other bishops are aware, that the archbishop is aware.
Right.
By the time this matter goes to court and comes out of court and the bishop follows it up, and this archdeacon has not even been transferred, the archbishop is aware of what's happening. There's something that the leadership of this church is saying about Gashau. And then Gashau, in my opinion, is a very good politician. He knows how to mobilize. He has set up walls. That you want to remove me, the people are demanding.
You have said.
Yeah, that one though, unfortunately.
The people are demanding that I lead them. You think that Gashau was not aware, he was just asleep, that he had noises outside.
Wake up.
Oh, wake up, okay.
Get dressed and come and preach.
I clearly knew.
This isn't the first time we have You are fighting an institution that you volunteered. Did they ask you to join them? So you got a calling. Did you not know that there are these rules and regulations? You did.
Gashau will from his church and leave the
Yes. It is, by the way, concept present announced that all these denominations is here. All, but
Let's take a break. Let's take a look at the traffic. 28 minutes to 7.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
Did you know that the largest number of incidents of state brutality occurred in the context of enforcing COVID-19 virus prevention control measures by police officers? In 2021, the Independent Medical Legal Unit IMLO documented and processed 198 cases of alleged state brutality and violence. That marked an increase of 31.31% from the previous year. Over the last 2 decades, IMLO has assisted over 5,000 victims of torture, cruelty, degrading and inhuman treatment through the support of a national network of professionals that include doctors, trauma counselors, lawyers, human rights monitors and journalists. For inquiries and clarifications, please contact IMLO's communication team through the contact line 0724 256 800 or visit www.imlo.org.
Digital technology is an integral part of any successful business, and staying up to date with the latest in digital technology is key to giving your business a competitive edge. On Saturday, 29th January, I, Olivia Otieno, is taking 00 Direct live and on location for the Digital Technology for Women in Business, a free must-attend forum for women business owners seeking to grow their businesses within the digital space. To attend, simply visit www.spicefm.co.ke to register at no cost. Digital technology for women in business in partnership with
All right, so there's going to be a number of things that are
She's
caused some
next.
drama this morning.
Empower her.
Nyayo Stadium roundabout. No. Haile Selassie at the roundabout right there. Nyayo Stadium roundabout. Tree has fallen. Nyayo House at the
Yes.
roundabout. tree fallen on the road. If you're coming from the west of the city, then going towards Mombasa Road, or anywhere else, you might want to be really careful because you will see it as you see it.
Full-grown tree.
So please be aware that the tree has fallen and it's not in a vertical position, horizontal, and it might cause a bit of problems this morning, probably already causing some traffic from what we can see here. So that's at the Nyayo House roundabout at GPO. Please be very, very careful as we wait for that to be taken out. And we're also seeing lots of puddles of water. And remember what they say, if you're not sure how deep it is, please don't attempt to get in. The rain has caused some of that. The construction combined with that will give us some drama today. So that's what to watch out for as we look at traffic on Jogo Road, some of it building on Langata Road. It will be on Langata Road this morning, whether it has started now or not, because that footbridge is being erected today over the next couple of days. And so that will cause some traffic. Diversions galore through the city this morning. Kamkunji then going into the city as well. That is piling up. Juja Road is doing the same. Thika Superhighway, thick and heavy all the way from the junction from Outer Ring. We're looking at going further ahead. My goodness. Roy Sambo all the way past Safari Park. Let's take a look in a short while. SpiceFM KE.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
It's
94.4.
Page 15 of the Standard. Sort yourselves out, Magoha tells private schools over state grant. The Education CS has dismissed claims that the government has set aside funds to assist private schools to build junior secondary schools. He was speaking during an inspection tour of Mangu High School and Gatondo Secondary School in Gatondo South to check on the ongoing construction of more classrooms, where he said the government is only obligated to fund public schools. Private schools are free to do what they deem fit for their situations. Those that have enough classrooms don't have to build new ones. Those that want to create standalone classrooms for junior secondary, please go ahead. He says the Treasury has already released 4 billion shillings for the construction of additional classes that will accommodate grade 7 students under CBC. The first batch of the 10,000 classes is expected to be complete by March. And according to Magoha, the construction of the remaining classrooms is set to resume in April. By the time the president will be leaving office, we are going to make sure the classrooms are ready for use. We're also going to make sure that the new textbooks for grade 7 in the new curriculum are available. So now the issue here is on the private schools. Oh, by the way, in terms of schools being constructed, the CS was impressed by the progress of the construction of 20 new classrooms at Mangu High School and Gatondo Secondary School, which are nearing completion. In Siaya, 105 classrooms out of a target 171 are complete. Kilifi is also among other regions that he said progress is impressive.
What is also impressive is the efforts that the CS is making. So it's not a question of he's being told.
He's all over.
He's all over the country seeing. So it's not, he was told, okay, he was told, all right. Remember the time when he was it in Trans Nzoia, when a director of education, you remember that incident? Remember that? Okay. And at the time, we did vilify him. Yes, correctly, because of the language used, but you can understand.
His point.
Well, he was new.
I stood with him on that.
You did, I didn't. I said he could have handled it differently. But I can imagine someone tells you this is the situation and you get there and you don't see what you were told. And you're wondering...
You find nothing.
What on earth were you talking about?
Yeah.
It probably helped form this, what he now does. You can tell him all you like, but he's coming to see it himself.
Yes, he'll be there. Now, the issue here again, private schools saying we are also taking care of the same Kenyan children. And we are also taxpayers as corporate citizens, as organizations, that we should also get support from the government to expand our facilities.
No. This is where I have I believe that the bulk of support must go to public schools. I believe that any initiative of this nature should go to public schools. Private schools by nature means that you made a choice to go into this business. The public school system is your right as a child in this country to education. That means that all resources and effort by government should go towards enhancing the public school system. I believe that's the way it ought to be. And if you look at public school systems that have been structured very well, you will find that the bulk of government support goes to them. Private schools do their thing.
Actually, this one for me is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
What business do private schools have even starting this argument? This discussion. I don't get
There's
it.
no leg to stand on here. if
You
ask
have started a business.
Yeah.
You make money from it. Then you are saying the government should support your business. Is the government a partner in your business?
Sorry.
It is not.
No. Support for the public school system should come from the government. Everybody else who wants to do the thing on your own.
You
time.
do it.
Yeah,
He says it's okay. You're free to go ahead if you think you have standalone classrooms. The only thing is for us to license you, we must come and inspect.
Exactly.
And ensure that you meet the standards.
No. That one, no. That...
If, for example, there is a public grant, if there's a government grant, and that grant for children can be applicable even in a private setting, that's totally different. But to say to take resources that could be used to buffer the public school system, which already is struggling, and then you now take and share with the no.
Do that buffer exists? It's called a bursary.
That one they can use that one.
Yeah. It exists, and it focuses on ensuring that child learns.
Yes.
Because part of the reason is not all areas in this country have government schools near them.
Indeed.
And the students who are the target, not the school, ought to learn.
Exactly.
Right?
But then for private schools to come and say, we want to build a classroom, please give us part of this state grant. No.
Even bursary, by the way, I hold very strong views that even bursaries should be going to public institutions.
You know, the tricky equation here, Eric, is that if the government built adequate schools, because the absence of just that adequacy of keeping up with the demand for schools is what has given rise to very many of these private schools.
Yep.
They're meeting a need.
Yep.
Okay? At some level, one can almost understand what is they're saying, that we're meeting a need. But unfortunately, it's a business. It's a profit-making business that an individual owns and they have set up.
Yep.
Whereas in
Now-
the public system, it is a responsibility of
Yes.
government.
So now, if I were to do any finger pointing, I would say, why is it that the government has neglected the duty of ensuring that there are adequate learning institutions for the children of this country who need it?
Yeah.
I mean, private schools have always existed, but they were never the majority. But now what do we have?
They are almost here.
Toe to toe.
Yes.
Same with the health sector, toe to toe. So, again, one can see and understand where the private schools are coming from, but sorry, it's a business.
Yeah. Deal with your business.
It's a business.
In your own way. What else are you looking at, City?
I, C.T. Muga, I'm looking at something quite interesting. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you. What was that thing?
You've lost it.
No, I haven't lost it.
You'll find it. Don't worry.
Yes, you carry on. I got carried away and forgot. Got it.
Oh, you found it. Yeah, good.
I'm looking at page 12, an analysis by a gentleman by the name of Dennis Kibara, okay? The management consultant and institutional reform specialist, okay? Now, he's talking about safety, security, critical in leadership debate, okay? The gist of it is summarized thus, What we miss in our electoral lenses, especially for the presidency, is this three-dimensional view, the interlocking spurs between governance, security, and the economy. Now, even as he says this governance, security, and the economy, what came to my mind was not even governance, wasn't even security, wasn't even the economy. What came to my mind was how it is leadership for me that we often look at and ask, but this leadership is corrosive, this leadership is essentially poisonous. what it's advocating for is harmful and will have consequences. And I thought to myself, actually, it is odd. Often leadership that we look at and which falls into that category and fits this particular bill, there's a strange component to it in that there are people who subscribe to that view. Yes, the leader may come up with some crazy things that they're saying, but there are people who already subscribe to that view. Now, I'm not introducing a chicken and egg situation where did they always have that view or was it spurred on? No. Over time, narratives become an accepted way of life. And when it does that, then it's just what people do. And it is the norm. I mean, we've had this discussion here. And we keep talking about the number of counties that are where people are facing starvation, isn't it? What is also interesting is that many of these counties are the same counties that are having security issues. So, what role does leadership play? If you notice, the issue of governance, I'm not even mentioning. And the reason I'm not mentioning the issue of governance is because it is it's a structured way of doing things which someone needs to be taught and they need to understand. It's not complicated. But what supersedes it is what people believe ought to be the narrative that they are following. Short-sighted as it may be, but it's what people believe.
Sure.
Yes. So, do we see an end to these issues that we keep talking about over and over and over again?
Just like you said, then, if the leader seems to be amplifying what is already existent in a certain community, some thought, some belief, so the leader is just amplifying.
Yes.
And people will elect somebody who will
Amplifies.
amplify their voice.
Precisely. Now, the thing that I want to highlight is that is what tells you about the leadership, because the leadership ought to be actually defraying this and saying, folks, excuse me, I am aware this is how you think, but this is really not it. The reality is A, B, C, D. We have problems. It isn't this community's problem. It is actually your problem. And let me explain to you why it is your problem. That's where now the courage that is required in leadership. Because these fellows know. It's not that they don't know.
Yeah.
They do know. But the willingness to play a political game that puts them in that leadership position is something they will not give up.
It's 13 to 7. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. The situation we're looking at the big stories in the papers today.
If I'm found guilty, there is no problem. I'm willing to serve. I have no problem. Jails are meant for human beings.
They say a society gets the leadership it deserves. If you have a corrupt, crooked and rotten society like we have in Kenya, then of course they will get that kind of a leadership.
I think the president should dissolve parliament. That's the best solution at this moment in time. Dissolve parliament.
All of you go home.
Yes, we all go home.
How are we encouraging other people who might have new and creative ideas? Young people who are making money without any government help. They are just buying their own bundles, they are going on TikTok and making money. KRA is coming after them.
I've been in parliament for 15 years. We have been unable to pass the gender law. And yet no presidential candidate is talking about it now. Because we are fake. The truth is, all the men refused to vote for that law.
What did Sonko do to Pumwani Maternity Hospital?
Yeah, he
with
cleaned
his
it up.
own money.
Cleaned it with his own money. That was him as an individual.
Yeah. And I did not say he was cleaning his own money. I was saying he cleaned it.
Foot, mouth. Foot, mouth. Eric.
Okay.
The Situation Room.
All right.
Kenya's
12 to 7. What's happening in Lamu?
600 families, at least in Lamu, have fled their homes for fear of being attacked. Same thing we're talking about. The fact that you don't want to sleep at home because there's a chance that somebody could attack you overnight.
Because of the ongoing tribal land clashes.
Indeed, that have left 15 people dead in Lamu County, are living in deplorable conditions in camps that have no water, sanitation and shelter. The displaced families, including children, pregnant women and the elderly, have pitched camps in Wido Trading Center and Shalom Academy in Kibaoni Town, as well as Juhudi and Holy Angels primary schools in Lamu West sub-county. They fled their villages 2 weeks ago for fear of being attacked by armed militants. Deserted villages include Wido, Juhudi, Marafa, Salama, Mashongoni, Bobosunkia and surrounding villages in Lamu West sub-county. Imagine those villages wiped out, not in terms of death, but people have fled because of fear of being attacked.
Because someone is coming to kill them.
There you go. The congestion has stretched facilities such as toilets and classrooms to the limit. At Shalom Academy, the largest of the displacement camps, over 250 families are forced to queue in order to use a few toilets available. The owner of the school, Mr. Amon Chango, urged the government and well-wishers to help the evictees with mobile toilets and water treatment facilities. We have very few classrooms and toilets, as you can see here. We need assistance. The situation is not ideal. Mrs. Mary Karaoke, one of those camping in Shalom Academy, said that they're often forced to go to the bushes to relieve themselves. So, I mean, this already is a bad situation, and it's likely to get worse. We're looking at about 8 villages that have been cleared out completely. Folks are living in now the makeshift camps already, for fear that, they're going to be attacked during the day, at night, and are now saying, please, help us. This is the situation that we have gotten to.
Relax, we've got this under control.
We've got a handle on it. Have we heard that any significant arrests have been made so far of the supposed bandits that are doing this?
No.
We have heard of troops of security personnel
being sent.
Yes, large numbers of them being sent. That we've heard. And there is talk of more numbers being sent. That we've heard.
But in terms of what they are then doing, so if all this KDF, GSU, ATPU, regular police, AP, if all of them are in Lamu, why are people staying in makeshift camps?
That's a serious show of force, isn't it?
I'm telling you. But then they're all there. You can imagine that. But what does it do for you? The presence of security gives you some kind of confidence that everything is okay.
Yep.
But still, people have fled the villages. People have fled and gone.
There's something here that must be pointed out. All this is all good and well, but are they functioning as a unit? Are they cohesive? I am looking at the Westgate Mall and the shambles that we saw there. Reke squad goes in, we hear the stories, they got the thing under control. Then the army comes in.
And bungles the rest of the operation.
And suddenly we have a completely different situation that doesn't favor us at all. I am of this view, and this is something that has developed over time. I get the impression that even when it is just one ministry dealing with an issue, that there's some departments within the ministry you do not find coordination. There's infighting, whether it is because of resources and the divisions of those same resources thereof, whether it is just that it isn't clear who should take which role and who should command or whatever it is. Because we've all agreed we have the forces, we have the resources, okay? So why is it then that we're not seeing the results that these resources and these forces should bring about?
Because if you ask me, they're fighting from a point of untruth, unfortunately. That they're not dealing with the main cause of this problem. Usually, if you're going against something that you've all agreed is the cause of this particular conflict, then I think you would see an easier coordination of matters. But here we are not dealing with the cause of the issue. We're not calling it for what it is, and it's not being addressed in the manner in which it ought to be.
Okay, now this is one ministry. Now imagine a situation where you're dealing with something that goes across more than one ministry. Can you imagine the stonewalling and the territorialism that will take place? So there are utterances of things moving forward, yet nothing is moving. And if it's moving, it's in reverse gear.
Yeah, you've got some people saying it's okay, we're going to handle the matter. And then in the same breath, they're sending people, and then they're sending others. But as all these things are going on, people have fled their homes.
They have.
Yeah.
People are really suffering. These people,
man.
if you look at the photos that have been published in The Nation this morning, just look at these pictures. Regina Kamau Wanjiro surveys what remains of her shop after it was torched by unknown people in Wido on Saturday. And it's just seeing it's
On Saturday.
On Saturday. This is what we're talking about. But
and
the
these forces have been going to
They've
that
been there.
Earlier,
Oh,
yes.
So?
This is what I'm saying. So what are we doing?
The government is
Who's
protecting
fooling
those
who?
who are actually committing these atrocities against the people.
Eric, there are people within the government. It is this same story. Whenever you hear of some quagmire of an issue involving some development project, this is why I'm coming to this conclusion that even someone as high up as the president will be lied to.
Yep.
He'll be told, Mtukufu, this one.
We have
Under
sent, we have
control.
deployed
Handle
500
this
new
one,
officers
in
there.
fact, don't fear. This thing is done. Yet, nothing is moving. Why do you think someone like Magoha keeps traversing the whole country?
Because they will tell you nonsense and nothing is going
Yes,
on.
he does. How many times have we seen the president physically go? How many times? Physically. Okay, he's been told, said, okay, I've heard.
Then he physically just shows up unannounced.
Yes, why? Experience again. Because realize this thing, I'm being told stories. Now, those stories are because sometimes I think when we talk about whether you call it state capture or not within the system, I personally, let me talk about myself. I don't fully comprehend it. I think I do, but I actually don't. Because it's entrenched. And the moment an issue moves into someone's turf, it is fought, stonewalled. Nothing goes.
Yeah.
And they do not, the people behind it have absolutely no regard for any authority.
Yep.
It's like a government within a government.
Yeah, they are the government. The rest of you guys have come and to throw the line. A report shows the plan to raise insurance premiums was based on a lie. Insurers plotted to raise premiums for motor vehicle covers on the basis of a falsehood that the industry has been making losses. While the industry's financial performance has been declining over the past 8 years, it has not made any losses, according to data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. The 2021 KNBS statistical abstract shows that between 2014 and 2020, the industry did not report any losses, although its profits plummeted 71.4% from 17.2 billion to 4.9 billion. In the 5 years to 2020, the KNBS report shows profits fell 61%, and the industry recorded dwindling profits as premium incomes rose. Premium income rising by 75 billion shillings. By 2014, the industry's gross premiums were 157 billion shillings, growing to 239 billion by 2020. So they are receiving more money, but their profit is going down. So what is the issue? Now then they come in and say, in fact, let's now come up with new changes, especially to the motor vehicle covers. First, there's an increase in the number of motor vehicles in the country. Is there not? Mm-hmm. And every vehicle you see on the road must be insured by law.
Right.
That means that there's an insurance company somewhere that is receiving premiums. Now, maybe there's an increase in the number of claims and fraud and all. But does that mean that now insurance companies have a right to come and say, okay, now let's increase our premiums. Let's even come up with new regulations on how we're going to be insuring our vehicles? Those games. Matter went to court. It was halted pending determination. But, yeah.
Unfortunately, this great need that our commercial sector has for always pumping up their profits. I understand it's the nature of business. But when now it's also being indicated that they themselves seem to be perpetrating grounds for which they can justify what they want to do. And those grounds are themselves shaky and probably untrue. Now we are bordering that particular realm of criminality. Because at the end of the day, the people who bear the brunt of all these things are the consumers, the mwananchi. You raise insurance premiums. If I have a public transport vehicle, I will raise the fares. It always trickles down and it gets back to the mwananchi. Always. It doesn't matter how you look at it, it always does. And this is the person who is most disadvantaged even as we speak.
It's an unfortunate one. It's an unfortunate. As we have a conversation with the Commissioner, Justice Nyang'ai of the IEBC in the next hour, one of the questions that we'll ask from him is, okay, as you roll out new rapid voter registration exercises, how is this going to take place in Malindi? How do you make sure that those people who have this place in Seriousness, how are those people going to register? Okay. We've got to make sure that those who are actually trying to suppress votes are not. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. We are live on SpiceFM. We also live stream the show on SpiceFM TV, on YouTube and on Facebook. We also have various conversations taking place throughout the show on SpiceFM KE on Twitter and Instagram. Those are our handles. If you're online, just register your presence and we'll appreciate your presence. In the next hour, we'll talk about the new rapid voter registration exercise brought up in Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission. Good morning, 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
The SpiceFM Newswire is brought to you by InDriver. Choose your preferred driver, mode of transport, and negotiate your fare to your destination for a safe, comfortable, and affordable trip only with InDriver.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Millions of Kenyans across the country who did not register themselves as voters in last year's exercise have an opportunity to list themselves as voters in an exercise that kicks off today. This after the IEBC announced a second phase of registration aimed at registering about 4.5 million new voters. Those that are not registered or want to change their voting stations can do so beginning today until February 6th. It is also during this phase that the electoral agency IEBC will register Kenyans living in the diaspora from January 21st. It should be noted that in the first phase last year, the IEBC registered 1.5 million voters against a target of 6 million. This as political players across the country are urging their supporters to register in large numbers so that they can vote in leaders they deem fit.
Wataanzisha kupeana hiyo tena tarehe 17 mwezi huu. Wale ambao walijiandikisha wajitokeze, wawe na bunduki na risasi sawa, ili baba kama mjezi mkuu akisema forward march
Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja has lashed out at the country's top political elites who do not want ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi to hold talks with his fellow competitors in the August 9th general elections. Speaking in Nikonge PG Church, Mugirango North in Nyamira County, where Mudavadi attended the service, Sakaja said Mudavadi is free to hold talks with any leader in the country regardless of the political affiliations.
No one should tell you who you talk to and who you don't talk to. Hiyo ni Kenya ya zamani. Sawa. Kuna mtu atakwambia Musalia unaweza ongea na watu wote lakini usiongee na huyu ama huyu. No, wewe ni kiongozi umekomaa. And nobody in this country has political leprosy. Ati ukigusa huyu utakuwa na upele. Hiyo ni siasa ya zamani. Bwana Kimose, if your party leader wants us to talk, we will talk. Mtu yote akitaka kuongea, Kalonzo akitaka kuongea, tutazungumza. Ruto akitaka kuongea, tutazungumza. Hakuna mtu atatufungia kuzungumza na mtu yoyote. Because kama mtu umekosana na mtu usidhani kila mtu atakuwa adui na yeye. We have freedom of association. For us to be allowed to associate freely, we will talk with whoever we need to talk to for the sake of the republic.
This despite reports indicating that Mudavadi has been holding secret talks with Deputy President William Ruto allegedly to unite ahead of the general elections. Meanwhile, Mudavadi has maintained that he will be at the ballot, further asking his supporters to be patient as he has great news for them on the 23rd of this month during the party's NDC.
Ule mkutano ambao ulikuwa upande wa Nakuru ama Naivasha Elementaita haukuwa mkutano wa kuamua ni nani atapeperusha bendera ya OKA. Ndio kwa sababu hakuna matangazo yoyote ambayo yametolewa kule. Kwa hivyo kile tulikuwa tunaona kwa runinga ama kwa vyombo vya habari kilikuwa kile kwa kimombo wanaita spin doctors. ambao ni wanajaribu kutengeneza narrative fulani, lakini hatujafika uamuzi huo.
And ODM leader Raila Odinga is today expected to meet with the campaign board on his bid for the presidency to discuss the strategies towards achieving that goal. At a meeting to be held at a hotel in Naivasha, about 20 governors are expected to attend. Among them is Laikipia Governor Nderitu Muriithi, who is the chairman of the campaign board. Other governors on the board include Governor James Ongwae of Kisii, Wycliffe Oparanya of Kakamega, Lee Kinyanjui of Nakuru, Hassan Joho of Mombasa, Anyang' Nyong'o of Kisumu, among others. The Nairobi Metropolitan Services has halted the construction of approximately 870 houses in Kilimani. Through a letter from the Directorate of Lands, SG Mange, the NMS stated that the construction of the 870 houses had been suspended on the grounds that the layout was not in accordance with the law. The suspension followed complaints from residents and owners of a plot of land where the construction would take place. And Somali Prime Minister Mohamed Hussein Roble has confirmed that a government spokesperson was injured in a terrorist attack. The Prime Minister strongly condemned the attack targeting government spokesperson Mr. Mohammed Ibrahim Alimu, who sustained injuries but is in a stable condition. The attack happened in Waberi, a district of Banadi region of Somalia. In March 2021, Al-Shabaab claimed responsibility for a car bomb blast that killed at least 20 people in Mogadishu. 2 years earlier, the group claimed a truck bombing that killed 85 people outside the country's capital. And the East African Safari Rally Classic and Standard Group will today launch a partnership of the world's greatest classic rally. The rally, scheduled to take off on 10th of February 2022 in Naivasha, has attracted over 50 international drivers drawn from the world. The 5,000-kilometer race will traverse through 7 counties of Nakuru, Elgeyo Marakwet, Baringo, Laikipia, Kajiado, Taita Taveta, and finish off at Ocean Sports Otamu in Kilifi County on the 18th of February 2022. We are following up on these. We will be updating you throughout the day in our subsequent bulletins. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
The SpiceFM Newswire is brought to you by InDriver. Download the InDriver app from the App Store or Google Play Store to enjoy a safe, comfortable, and affordable ride around Nairobi.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
All right, we're looking at quite a lot of traffic on Mombasa Road this morning, and all the way back from the Weybridge, getting out towards the SGR, that's moving very, very slowly. Then getting towards the newly erected footbridge at Imara Daima, we're going to see some action there, and that continues for some time this morning. Southern Bypass looking pretty good, though. After you get past General Motors, there's an option of continuing on Mombasa Road or getting off and using the Southern Bypass. After that, Langata Road is already piling up, guys. We knew this was going to happen because of that other footbridge erection that's taking place there at that roundabout. So it's going to cause a lot of traffic this morning. Lunga Lunga, Lusaka, Likoni, Jogo Road, that whole industrial area. We're going to see a lot of traffic there, and we're already seeing it. Uhuru Highway out towards Westlands. Inbound from the Thika Superhighway is an absolute mess this morning. It's moving very, very slowly, as it is on Limuru Road and Kiambu Road. So what do we have? Monday morning traffic madness already started, and quite early. Let's try to get through it as safely as we can. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Talk to us there. Text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This
it's
is the
Kenya's biggest
Situation
conversation
Room,
at 8 minutes
the
past
only
7.
way
How
to
are
start.
you doing? Welcome to the second hour of the show this morning. We are glad you tuned in From wherever you are, we know that there's an audience from across the globe. From the Southern Pacific, South Africa, we have Zimbabwe, we have Zambia, we have across the country, from Nairobi all the way to Mararal, to Marsabit, to Moyale, to...
Eric, that place you mentioned again?
Mararal.
You could just say
just end with a little.
It's okay. We get it.
Red lorry, yellow lorry situation. Okay.
How would you pronounce it?
Maralal.
That's it. What did I say?
And that's what you said. Okay, Maralal.
Yes, absolutely. And CT has the day's proverb.
Okay. Jangwa la simba halikosekani mfupa.
Direct translation.
I like Ndu's interpretation translation of it.
Mm-hmm.
The stomping ground of the lion never lacks a bone.
Oh. Jangwa la simba halikosekani mfupa.
Voila.
Ndu, not mfupi.
Not mfupi either.
Mfupa.
Not mfuko.
Mfupi, mfupa, mfuko.
This one is mfupa.
Mfupa.
Bone.
Okay, so let's switch over the conversation now to today, the 17th day of January 2022. Is a big day for the IEBC because this is the day that they have said they're rolling out the second phase of the ECVR, Enhanced Continuous Voter Registration Exercise, between today and the 6th of February, where they're targeting, you see that target that they wanted to hit 6 million new registered voters. It's still the same target. 6 million new registered voters. Well, they got 1 point something, 1.8.
1.5.
1.5. Okay. So the balance should be gotten in the next couple of weeks.
The balance plus another 1.5?
6 million minus 1.5.
The balance is 4.5 plus 1.5 is 6 million, Abi.
You're right.
Thank you. I don't know whether you want to
well, I mean, math and women is synonymous.
I think we can shut down and end the situation with
Kabisa.
7:10. I mean,
your day is made. Completely.
Kabisa. I've even spoken Swahili.
Justus Nyang'aya is the commissioner with the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission. He joins us in the studio. Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning, and how are you?
Very well, thank you. Good to have you in the Situation Room. Welcome to the hot seat.
Thank you very, very much. I feel privileged that I'm here so
that
we can speak to Kenyans.
Very good. I like your fashion.
Thank you, sir.
Can plug in, where you get the shirts from, for the sake of, So, is it a new 6 million target, or is it the same 6 million people target?
No, we have already gotten 1.5 million in October. So right now we are targeting 4.5 million. Yeah.
Now let's just move on. 4.5 million.
Yes.
What is it from what you saw made you not realize even half of your initial target the first time round?
Several things. And at that time, there's something that we did not know with clarity. That was apathy. Then when it happened, 3 weeks down the line, and we only got 1.5, we knew something was absolutely wrong. And it was called apathy. So it is like we are giving up on something. Young people are saying we are giving up. We don't want to get involved. We are jumping out. This thing about voting right that many countries fought for and many people died for it, we all of a sudden said, that's yours. And it was a statement that we needed to stop and listen to these young people.
What are they saying? What is it that we need to get from their own language of this apathy, of this giving up, of this saying, we are not with you in this big national event that is changing leadership, changing the world, changing how people think. That, for us, was a big aha moment.
Commissioner, how did you determine that it was apathy?
You know, when you take this thing out, the voter registration, and you think that people will be coming in, a lot of people will be coming to take part in registration so that they get ready to vote for their preferred candidate. And not even half turns up to take votes. I mean, you listen, and what you hear around is that people are not coming. We take the kids to the grassroots, almost to the doors. And the whole day, the registration kit, only 2 or 3 or 4 people turn up and say, we want to register. And you thought that a lot of people were going to register? 6 million. And then 1.5 turns up. Obviously, something was definitely not right.
You're saying, Commissioner, that by them not turning up, obviously they were saying something. People across border saying something. Do you think then it required going to them where they are, as has been done in the past, to find out, number one, what the issue is, and then to get them on board? Because there's clearly an issue here. And there could be very many reasons. One of the things that we know, for example, that in order for you to register, you must have an identification card. Are we seeing that there are a lot who do not have? Or are we seeing that there are those who just don't understand because it is a responsibility that you should be part of this process? There must be very many reasons that chalk up to then the non-appearance of people to register. What were some of the definite things that you can point to and say, okay, people wanted to come, but they didn't have IDs. People just don't understand that it's a duty or responsibility, or people are just not interested. And what are the reasons why they're not interested? Historical problems, past experience. What could it be?
I think one of the biggest challenges that we faced was the slow turnaround of ID registration. You register as you want to have your ID, you are 18. You will probably get it when you are 19 or 20. It does not take 2 months. It can even take up to 1 year. Then you live without ID for 1 year and you realize that, do I really need this thing right now? And you realize that it came in an area around you. You don't know whether it is with the police or with the chief or with the county commissioner. You don't know. Nobody's telling you where this thing is. Then suddenly you realize that, oh yes, they came, but because I am in Nyandarua, they were taken to Nakuru. How do I go to Nakuru? In which office do I get this thing from? It came, but I'm in Homa Bay. This thing went to Siaya. I've never been to Siaya. Where do I get this thing from? So the production of ID and the turnaround, which can actually be, by the way, 4 or 5 days, and you have an ID. And this thing is taking 4 months, 6 months, 1 year.
Why? I'm sorry, but I have to jump in because it's something to me fundamental basic issue that we should not even have to be talking about. Why is it taking so long? And you may say that it may not be under your purview as the IEBC, but then is there coordination between bodies, between different institutions that require each other in order to work? So IEBC wants to register Kenyans to vote. Kenyans do not have ID. The registry that is supposed to be doing this is also here working on its own. What kind of coordination then is happening between these two bodies to say, come on, folks, let's get these things moving?
This thing is something that we have been doing in the past. Until last year in October, when we realized that actually, because young people are not accessing, but by the way, that is just one of them, all right? It's not accessing ID. What else can we do? That is the realization that we came to after October. And we visited the department that is dealing with the registration of persons. And we sat down with them and they said, this is a big problem, especially in Nyanza, in Western, and in some places. Why is this happening? We had a frank conversation around that. And they said, you know what? We are going to look at this and we are going to do something about this. And the day that we spoke with the leadership of this department, they said, okay, over the weekend, we are going to even, for a start, we are going to have people working full-time on Saturday and Sunday, and Monday, you will see the results. And about 5,000 IDs were rolled out from Nairobi into parts of Nyanza.
So what was it that they were saying? What was their problem? Because people have come and applied for the IDs. Was their problem systemic, that they were having challenges processing the IDs? Was it logistics, that they were having problems transporting the IDs from Nairobi to Mashinani? Was it communication, that the chief has received this and he doesn't have any clue who should be picking this ID? What was the challenge?
The process was slow, and people didn't talk about why it was slow. And you could not get it out from people. Why was it just in Nyanza and other parts? Was there a structural barrier, difficulty that was historic around this? So these are some of the things that we wanted to deal with. But since it was now being open, you said, okay, let's get this thing ready and let's go out there. That was one of the biggest problems that we had. And now it is being addressed. And I'm very happy that the various stakeholders are working together with us to sort out this, because it was extremely frustrating. The other thing is some of the young women that were married before they had their IDs, it was very difficult for them to get their IDs where they were married. In fact, the chief and the system were telling them to go back to where they were born. And, you are spending about 100 going and 100 coming back to get an ID that you have lived without. You
so the
are asking your
is
questions.
You need to go where you were born.
You need to go where
to
you
register
are born.
for this ID.
Yes.
Is that a policy requirement?
This is what people were being told. The ID you can get anywhere. People come to Nairobi where they were not born and get IDs. How about a rural area where you are married and you are told to go back? Some of these things, especially, when when the authority tells you that go back to where you were born and talk to your
local chief.
Local chief and assistant chief, you don't question things.
You know, when a commissioner, when some of our callers or some of our listeners called in around the time when the registration was going on, this very thing that we're discussing is what some of them told us they had encountered. They thought it was a straightforward thing. You produce your ID and the process continues. The issue of going back to see your chief, getting a letter from God knows who, arose. And we were truly puzzled. Saying, what? But all you require is your ID. I mean, these new requirements that are coming up, where are they coming up from? Now, did you, in your quest to find out why this voter apathy was there, did you come across something similar?
Yes, we did come across something similar, but Muga, I think you are describing a different thing. What we are saying is that people were finding it difficult to get IDs. But I think you are saying that some people already had their IDs, but coming to us, is that what you are saying?
That is what I'm saying. I've actually moved from the issue of the ID and I've gone in to voter registration because the discussion is about voter registration. So at the end of the day, when somebody has an ID and they encounter this, you know, people talk. Now, this is where the problem begins. Other people will be thoroughly discussed and said, what happened? Somebody else goes, forget about it. And suddenly you have a situation where people are reluctant to go because they envision a situation where they're going to be asked all those many questions. Okay? Now, couple that with what you talked about, getting just your ID. 3 months lapse. 6 months, you forget about it.
Absolutely. And Commissioner, this is what CT is describing is not an imaginary situation. I mean, we've had people who've called us as we've had this conversation previously, and so I think it's good that you're here because then you can tell us what can be done about it. Because the truth of the matter is that apathy can result from so many different things.
Absolutely.
If somebody hears a conversation from somebody else who says, "I've been told to go across the country to export," and they've said, "You know what? I also might be in the same situation. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to do it. I don't have to vote this year. It's all right. I can leave it." And here we are encouraging people to come out and fill out your civic duty and vote. Whereas the process that should be made conducive in order for me to do that is really, really sticky. I'm not going to make that decision.
In terms of accessing our own registration areas, as far as we are concerned, we had trained our people. When people come to register, there are only two things that they need from you. Either a passport or an ID. That is really what is required. And if somebody walked into a registration center and they were asked to go back because they have an ID and they have not been registered, we would like to know. And we would like to know particularly which center is this? Because we didn't have so many people. Why will people be turned back?
I think the issue mainly was those who sought to transfer.
Change their center.
Their centers. So somebody, say, has moved now from Coast to Nyanza. In fact, one of them called us and told us he had moved from Mombasa to Kisumu, and he wanted now to go and transfer his voting polling center to Kisumu. They're told, you must, A, come up with a letter from your new chief. You must also come with any bill to proof of residence, that you've been a resident here for 6 months at least, before we can even start having a conversation with you.
Yeah.
And then somebody else called us from Nairobi and told us the same thing. And the IEBC clerk was here. The chief's office is next door. Went to the chief's office, and the chief had no clue about such kind of requirement. So the chief told him, what kind of letter am I supposed to write for you? I have no idea what you are talking about. So there was lack of awareness among even the administration officers on what they needed to do. And then there's this whole thing of, I've got to prove that I'm a resident here for the last 6 months.
Yes, you are right. Actually, that was a confusion. That was a confusion because the law says that when you want to transfer, your voter from one area to another, there is some sort of proof that you are a resident and you have been a resident there for 6 months. The law did not say that go to the chief or go to the police. Any proof, any. We didn't even say that take a utility bill. But I think this was imagination that took the better of a lot of people and just say that for us to prove we need to go to the chief. No, it doesn't. You can even tell your mother-in-law to prove that actually you are in Nairobi now. The job that you are doing in Nairobi is no more, and you have come back home, and you are married in this home. That's final.
Okay. So you're looking at 4.5 million. With this foundation that we've talked about now, Commissioner, how are you going to get 4.5 newly registered voters?
I'd like us to take a break and then you can respond to this, because this is now the crux of the matter of the conversation. How are you going to move from 1.5 to 4.5 in such a short time? This is the conversation we're having with Commissioner Justice Binaya of the IEBC as the IEBC rolls out the second phase of the enhanced continuous voter registration exercise. Between today and the 6th of February, they'll have all these voter registration centers. Go out there, register yourself as a voter for the next election. Have a good morning. It's now 7:30. Let's take a break, take a look at the traffic and the weather. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Don Roman will lead a happy life with his small family until tragedy strikes, which will lead him to look for true love from 4 other women and sires 5 sons from all the different women. Although they come from different worlds, they are bound together by the same blood. Find out how their lives will become intertwined when they start learning the truth behind their identities. To catch how things unfold in this intriguing show, watch Los Bastardos on Monday to Friday at 6 p.m. on KTN Home. What makes a man?
I had an advertising job that was toxic. It was difficult. I'm not saying the people were toxic. I don't think anyone is inherently toxic.
Don't ever let someone's perception of you become your reality.
How do we navigate through career, family, and life?
I was an average kid. I wasn't a poor student.
Examining what defines a man.
We derive our identity as men based on external factors, on things that people can be able to see.
A space for men to open their experiences and more. Starting Thursday, 18th November on the Standard Digital YouTube and Facebook page. Hosted by Eric Latiff.
Bit of a drizzle in some parts of Nairobi.
The weather with Spice FM.
Lows of 15 today. Light rain at 15 in Nakuru, highs of 21. We'll see highs of 24 in Nyeri, where it's raining at 16. We'll see lows of 14. 13 will be the low in Eldoret, where it's raining as well at 15, highs of 19. Looking into Mombasa, sunny conditions now at 25, highs of 33. And in Malindi, highs of 31, lows of 25, and mostly sunny conditions through today. It's raining in Kisumu at 19, highs of 25 and lows of 18, and we're looking at highs of 24 and lows of 16 with a rainy morning in Kakamega. Light rain in Kampala at 18, highs of 23 and lows of 17, while in Dar es Salaam it's raining at 27. That'll be today's low, going to highs of 31. Lagos is mostly cloudy at 25, highs of 32 today, while in Johannesburg it's mostly cloudy at 16, highs of 22 and lows of 15. Clear conditions in Kinshasa at 22. That'll be today's low, going to highs of 29.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life.
And it continues. Traffic hour started really early this Monday, and we're seeing from east, west, north to south quite a lot of traffic around the city. Mombasa Road is an eyesore today, and that's moving very slowly. Use the southern bypass, though. Save yourselves the headache. Once you can get off, do that. We're looking at the North Airport Road today, and then going towards Outer Ring. That's already crazy. Coming off of Savannah Road, then towards the Donholm Interchange, Manyanja Road, that whole area. Kangunda Road, absolutely crazy today. And very long snake of traffic. The Thika Superhighway, really messy as well, and it's quite congested on Kiambu Road today. Well past, I don't know, going well into the county of Kiambu. A lot of traffic today. All right, so we're looking at that whole network of traffic webs in the western part of the city. Langata Road is crazy, and it's likely to be even crazier as the minutes tick by. Let's take it all with a dollop of patience, shall we? Use your bypasses, they'll help this morning. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
25 minutes to 8. It continues right here on SpiceFM. This is the Situation Room with Eric Latiff, Ndu Okoh, CT Muga, and our guest today is Commissioner Justus Nyang'aya of the IEBC. We are talking about the new enhanced voter registration exercise that begins today, the 17th of January, up to the 6th of February. Commissioners, we're taking the break. Ndu asked, so how are you going? What strategy have you deployed this time to ensure that you can actually get the 4.5 million that you did not capture the first time?
Yes. When we started in October, we had a target. We didn't realize it. This time, we also have a target of 4.5 million. And we do know, because we have spoken with the department dealing with registration of persons, they said that they have already given IDs that are out there are about 4.5 million. So people have those IDs. And now that I'm here and you guys are also our stakeholders, letting people know that we have started this civic duty today of voter registration, the information is out there. And we are also working with a number of stakeholders, the political liaison group, the Ministry of Interior, political parties. I think if people didn't know that this particular exercise was going on then, I think they do know now in a big way.
What have you done
And
that's
we
different in terms of communication? Because like you're saying, the first time, you even heard it from my callers who were calling in and saying, we're not aware that this exercise is taking place. Is there better enhanced communication taking place now?
I think there is better communication that we are currently actually putting in place. We have been talking about it in the last 1 week. We are going to enhance that communication and ask people to come out and register. But also, there are a number of people that we have actually recruited in the wards, every ward, and we have 1,450 wards all over the country. We have people that we have employed to just go out and tell people and mobilize them that this exercise is going on. So it's a big campaign that is not being taken just by IABC, but our stakeholders, lots of stakeholders, are out there telling people that this is happening. Please go out and take your vote and make a decision on the 9th of October 2022. This, for us, is important that people listen and act. So what is ready out there is 4.5 million IDs. That is the primary document for registration. So the only thing that, therefore, we are expecting people to do is to walk into our registration centers that we have even moved closer to people at the ward level. But we have also decided that we are giving additional kits to colleges, to universities, to schools, so that those that are already in school and may not necessarily come out and register, we are going to their institutions. So that for us is making it easier for people to interact with this exercise.
Are you using digital platforms?
Yes.
To engage, like you're saying, it's the youth, it's people who are 18, let's say, to 2021. They are very active on digital platforms. Are you using digital platforms to reach to them?
Yes, we are doing. Our digital department is reaching many people through Twitter, through Facebook, through all manner of
How are they doing this, Commissioner? If I look at your Twitter handle, the IEBC Twitter handle, yes, it's regularly updated with information about what the IEBC is doing and saying we're going to have the ECVR2 kicking off on a certain date. But if you look at the number of people that you reach on this platform, I mean, IEBC is not one of those that an 18-year-old will want to follow so they can be getting updates from IEBC. How do you reach those that are not following IEBC? Is there any advertisement that's taking place on digital platforms, on other online platforms?
Yes, there are. And it's been on my phone, and we share them. So there's so much information that is going out there, and people do understand. Last night, one of my relatives said that they have a son that has not registered. And she said, can I talk with him? And I did. And I said, do you know that there is voter registration? And he said, yes, I know that there is voter registration and it's starting tomorrow. And I said, will you go? I said, I had not thought about it, but I think I will go. And I said, you better go. Already he knew. I think the move...
But you understand the aspect of communication and advertising,
yes.
Commissioner. People know there's a detergent.
Yes.
But you've got to tell them why they need to go and buy your detergent. Now, people know, yes, that there's IEBC, there's an election coming up this year, that people are going to register as voters. But like you said, to address the apathy, to convince these young people why they need to do it, is that really happening? Honestly speaking.
It is happening with our own teams in the wards. Whether they are getting convinced or not, that I don't know. But they are being told that this is a moment for you as a young person to ensure that you use your vote to make a decision. This is a powerful tool. It places you in a place of power. And everybody likes power, likes control. And if people are talking about choosing their leaders, that they have power and they have it in their hands, I don't know what else we need to say, but I think we need to say a little more than that.
Indeed. Can I give an example of something that really struck me that was done? And then maybe we can draw from that. Because I hear now, if we're saying that, it came from IEBC yourselves, saying that young people would be the target of this drive because this population would make up a great percentage of the voting population.
Absolutely.
Right? So obviously, this is a group of people that is consuming information in a different manner from everybody else and in a different time. And I look at a woman in the US called Stacey Abrams. And through her network, she was able to have her, not a body, she as an individual, 800,000 people registered to vote in the last election. And she kind of made sure that they actually did. But what did she do? She started to tell stories to people about how their lives could either get worse or better if they did not make the decision to vote.
Absolutely.
So what she did was make the experience personal. And I think that may be what is lacking. That right now, IEBC is saying, come out and register and vote, and that's just about the size of it. And perhaps it needs to get a little bit more granular, because the reasons why people are voting to them make sense. But there's nobody who's coming to give them the reasons as to why. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of resources. But then 4.5 million is a lot of numbers that could make a difference when you look at the national voting tally.
Plus, remember, the messaging that you are sending is competing with very many other messages that young people receive.
Absolutely.
We are in the information age. So they are spoiled for choice. This voter thing seems a bit difficult. What other options do I have? So the question I would ask is, yes, you are messaging, and you said you're not... well, one doesn't know the result, but we will.
Yeah.
The success of your messaging is going to begin today.
Absolutely.
We will you will start to know now. What I want to ask is, as the information comes in and as you can see the numbers either trickling in or not, what mechanisms do you have to rapidly respond to the feedback you're getting from this process?
You know, you're right. People listen to messages, and they want to be convinced that this action that I'm just about to take is going to be of value to me. It's a personal thing.
It is.
I remember a good part of my life I've been doing advocacy around rights-based advocacy. And the rights-based advocacy is looking at this particular action that I am just about to do or take. How is this adding value to me as a person? As if you look at the human rights or even the housing rights, my house is just about to be crushed by government or by some rich person. My house. Everything will go, including the toys of my children and pencil with a little rubber there that you really loved. You want to fight to stop this so that this does not happen to you. Now, this becomes very personal, and this is what we are trying to do with voting. If you don't vote, you are bringing in somebody that is not going to be accountable to the promises that they had made to you to turn your life around. And this is what we are discussing at IABC. And this is what we are discussing with people that are developing messaging for young people. We know that we are dealing with a group of people that their attention is really quite taken by so many things.
Yeah.
So we also have to have a way to reach them, and we are doing that.
I put it to you, Commissioner, you've been in the civil society space for a while, that the IEBC is so used to getting support from other quarters, especially the civil society, when it comes to mobilization of voters, of civic awareness and civic education, that it assumed that happens automatically as it focuses on just having its officers on the ground to register voters. And this is why I'm putting it that way. It's because even as we continue talking, we've been engaging people on social media and on this radio station. We ask them, are you aware that there is a voter registration that's ongoing throughout, and then there's an enhanced voter registration that is going to happen for a month? Many are not aware.
Yes.
Even you talk to very many youthful people, and they'll tell you they're just not aware, they're not engaged. And IEBC is rolling this out. It's saying, yes, we know that digital works and all this and the other, but we have not heard IEBC, for example, saying we have engaged such and such community influencers who reach out to the youth, who are active on digital platforms. We have engaged such and such influencers at community level who interact with the youth on a regular basis, on a daily basis, that will show them it's cool to vote. Because that's the whole point.
Absolutely.
It's cool to vote. We're not hearing any of this messaging. Take back to what happened in 2007 with the Vijana Tugutuke campaign that brought in musicians and artists, and they were going around the country and they were creating that whole message of it's cool to vote and it's our time to register as voters. It created some sort of awareness among the youth. This time, we don't hear any of that, Commissioner. So even as much as you say, yes, there's awareness, there's information out there that we are posting, we are meeting, we are doing this and the other, your target audience has not heard you. And I do not believe, I'm not sure whether you have any figures that you can show us today that shows, these are the kind of youth that we have reached out to. These are the kind of impressions we've received on social media when you've posted about the voter registration, and this is the targeted market that we have reached out to. We will not get any of that information from IEBC. So surely, are you going really to hit 4.5 million?
You're right, Eric. There are certain things that we have not done very well. And when you are saying that not very many people know about continuous voter registration, you're right. We are also aware, and we were shocked that between 2018 and 2021, we had only registered 130,000 voters through the continuous voter registration. And so that's why we decided that, can we come up with something that is grander, something that is more elaborate, something that takes registration to almost to the doorsteps of people. And that is when we raked in 1.5 million from 200,000. You are right about that, and I think we need to do a little more. But remember, we have 1,450 wards, and we think that people live in those places. And so therefore we have employed 3 people, nothing is two people per ward, as educators and mobilizers. When you multiply that with 1,540, it's a big number. And we think, but maybe that's not what's happening. We think that these people are going out there and educating, or even if it is not educating, but is providing information about enhanced voter registration.
I have to ask this question. What criteria did you use for choosing these individuals?
First, they have to have reached a certain level of education, and usually we take people that have done up to university education. And we pick them and we train them on our messaging, information, and how to communicate that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've been in civil society. Have you also, in your curriculum and training, trained them how to work with existing community organizations and groups?
Yes, that we do. That we do. Because they live in that community, and we say, when you go to your community, this is how you need to work with them. And we don't bring people from outside again. We just bring people that are living or were born or members of those communities.
Who are part and parcel of that particular community.
Yes.
Now, the reason why I asked the question, if a community does not feel or does not believe that their participation has been considered, our people are polite.
Yes.
They will come for your meeting, they will listen to you, and then they'll go about their business. But they will not do anything that you may have thought that they would do. So now, the question of feedback, even as they communicate these messages, what mechanism do you have in place to determine the feedback as to the acceptance of this particular message? Because the acceptance is a step from which now you can actually actualize what it is that you want to see done.
Absolutely. I mean, the methodology for teaching, and especially adult learning methodology, is very effective because adults only learn, get what they can use. And so the methodology that we are giving them is varied and tested. They say that the eating of, how does it go? The pudding and the eating.
The proof of the pudding.
The proof of the pudding is in the eating.
Yes.
Yes. We can only know that when they come to register. The feedback can also be very deceptive because, as you say, people are polite. So they tell you
what they think you want to hear.
Yes, now we have listened, we are going to do this. But again, it is a very dicey thing that you don't know exactly if people are going to, they have listened, they have heard, but are they going to follow up? And so this is something that we also discuss with our people. Follow them up. If you cannot reach them properly, who is it that can reach them? Is it the chiefs? And by the way, the chiefs and assistant chiefs, I think one time, last 2 years, when I was doing some research, these are the people that are trusted more than the politicians. So reach these stakeholders that are more trusted to convey your communication. You cannot do this alone. And I think this is where we are. We are trying all manner of people, stakeholders, and see who is it that can add value and create impact in the work that we are doing.
This matter that we're discussing, Bwana Commissioner, is this something the IBC has done before? This employing 2 people per ward throughout the country. Is this something they've done before?
Yes, they have.
Yes, which means they already have data from which they can derive the possibility of success or failure.
But do you know, in the previous elections, they had been using this, and it has been very successful.
Because of the partnering that Eric mentioned.
Yes.
Because it hasn't just been IBC.
No. It's not just IBC.
Because of others playing
It's
a
also
role.
others as
Yes, and others played a big role. But also significantly, remember, every election that we've had in this country is unique in its own way.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this particular one is not like the one.
No. This is very unique.
This is very unique.
Yes, because of what it presents.
Yes.
I want to ask a question here, Commissioner.
Yeah.
With the timelines that we have, there's a time when you will stop all voter registration ahead of the election. And then you'll open the register now for inspection. And people can check whether they are on the register, whether their details have been captured correctly. Right? But right now, somebody who is already a registered voter, somebody who participated in the last election, but they just want to reconfirm that they are still in the register, how do they do that?
Because we have 1.5 million that we are putting in the register, and there was another 200,000 that I told you that we raked in during the continuous voter registration. And hopefully this 4.5 million, if it comes in, it will require that the register and the data is inspected to see that we have not double registered people. So we remove that. And then we are also working together with those who are registering deaths and births. And that also needs to be removed, especially when we bring a reputable organization that provides auditing to edit the register. After that, we are going to develop an SMS, and you can check that your details, that you are registered. But if you want to check about your details and change of name, you go personally and check. And you say, this one, my finger.
You go physically?
You go physically to the IEBC office?
Yes, to our offices in the constituency.
Okay.
Yeah, because then they will be checking your biometrics. And photo, ID, and everything. So people will be allowed to do so after we
And as you roll out this exercise amendments, to be there for registration of voters, we welcome you for the commissioners to come. Let's keep engaging. Get the feedback directly from the people. What they encounter.
Thank you very, very much for inviting me, but also for agreeing. It's very, very important. The media is playing a critical role in this area, and we cannot actually do this without them.
Asante sana. Keep it right here for more. Good morning, 8 a.m.
The SpiceFM Newswire is brought to you by InDriver. Choose your preferred driver, mode of transport, and negotiate your fare to your destination for a safe, comfortable, and affordable trip only with InDriver.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. President Janos Adar of Hungary is in the country for a 4-day state visit. The Hungarian head of state, who is accompanied by First Lady Anita Hadzik, were received at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport by ICT Cabinet Secretary Joe Musheru and Foreign Affairs CS Ambassador Rachel Amamo. President Adar is expected to hold bilateral discussions with his host President Uhuru Kenyatta during his official visit. They will be officially received by President Kenyatta and First Lady Margaret Kenyatta at State House Nairobi today. Kenya and Hungary have enjoyed warm and strong bilateral ties dating back to 1964 when Hungary established an embassy in Nairobi. A section of Muslim clerics have thrown their weight to support ODM principal Raila Odinga on the Azimio la Umoja movement in his bid to become the 5th president of Kenya. Kemnak chairperson Sheikh Jumangao, however, called on politicians to tone down on divisive politics that may pit Kenyans against each other. Speaking during the launch of the Kenya Muslim Friends of Raila, Kemnak chairperson Sheikh Jumangao reiterated that it was a high time for the Islamic community in Kenya to support Raila's bid to become Kenya's 5th president. Now, Kenya's Independence Party KANU has received defectors from UDA party, a move likely to reshape Rift Valley politics with 7 months to the general elections. Nakuru County KANU chairperson John Muthui, while receiving the over 70 defectors from UDA party drawn from Nakuru Town East constituency, rooted unity among Kenyans and questioned why the country is divided only during elections. Muthui insisted that the party is still strong, exuding confidence in securing more seats in the forthcoming general elections. Nairobi lawyer John Kithi has finally bowed to pressure from the Pamoja African Alliance Party to shelve his senatorial ambitions and contest for the Kilifi County governorship on the party ticket. Kithi attended a PAA rally at Matonanamane Trading Center in Sokoke, Ganze constituency, where he used Giriama parables to indicate that he would vie for the gubernatorial position without explicitly saying so. 15 members of the Kilifi County Assembly, Kilifi Senator Christine Zawadi, and aspirants for the Kilifi senatorial seat and Ganze parliamentary seat Ben Kai and Kenneth Charo Kazungu urged Kithi to go for the gubernatorial seat. Now, the Director General of the Kenya Urban Roads Authority, Silas Kinoti, has reiterated his commitment to continue upgrading and modernizing road networks in the country in a bid to facilitate movement of people and goods and improve public safety. Kinoti, who is credited with overseeing the expansion of Nairobi's Ngong Road Phase 3 into a dual carriage, said plans are underway to elevate Nairobi's city status and its environs in order to achieve the Vision 2030 objective of transforming the status of the country to a middle-income economy. The authority has geared its programs towards development of sustainable cities and communities as espoused by the Sustainable Development Goals framework, further calling for adoption of technology and embracing innovation. And Kenya Railways has resumed the livestock transport business. The railway company says it has railed a total of 311 heads of cattle and 89 calves from Gilgil and Longonot destined for Emali. They plan to rail more animals this week. The movement of livestock has been occasioned by the depletion of pasture in Gilgil, Longonot, Nakuru, among other areas due to the prolonged dry weather, with farmers opting to move their animals to Emali to graze. The Kenya Railway says cattle wagons load an average of 30 heads of cattle each, depending on the size and weight of the herd. And Mali's former president Ibrahim Boubacar Keita, who led the West African country from 2013 until he was ousted in a coup in 2020, died at the age of 76 in Bamako. Keita was 2 years into his 5-year term when in 2020 he faced widespread street protest against his government and was toppled by the military, which is now under regional sanctions for failing to restore civilian rule. The cause of Keita's death has not been given. In the weeks before the 2020 coup, he had been struggling with protests fueled by his handling over jihadist insurgency and failure to turn around Mali's floundering economy. And Shabana continued their ascendancy in the National Super League at the Green Star Mawendo after their 2-1 win against Dandora Love. Their 4th on the bounce moved them 3rd on the log. The hosts Shabana were quickest off the blocks after they took the lead in the 17th minute through Nehemiah Onchiri's neat finish from close range. Dandora Love restored parity in the 24th minute via a spot kick converted by Kevin Dungu after Chris Odur was brought down in the box. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
The SpiceFM Newswire is brought to you by InDriver. Download the InDriver app from the App Store or Google Play Store to enjoy a safe, comfortable, and affordable ride around Nairobi.
.5 Spice FM. Kisumu.
Okay, so there's traffic on Ngong Road this morning and quite some. Raila Odinga Way feeding off onto Ngong Road this morning is quite packed. That's because of the nonsense that's happening on Langata Road today. And why is there nonsense? Because there's an erection of a footbridge that's taking place currently. So that's a good thing eventually. So let's not fret, at least not too much, not now. Into the CBD, quite a lot of traffic feeding off the Thika Superhighway, which is an absolute mess this morning. Jogo Road, Likoni Road, Lunga Lunga, Lusaka. Any more L roads? No. Right now, quite a lot of traffic coming out of Parklands, Limuru Road, an absolute mess, coming out of Westlands as well. All right, so we're also looking at Kiambu Road. It's thick on the Thika Superhighway, guys. So what do we do? For now, you're just going to have to sit through that. If you're coming out of Westlands, use the Red Hill Link Road. There's an option for you. So it seems like Monday morning is requiring a lot of patience today. No road rage, folks. Keep it under a dull roar. Let's talk on Spice FM KE on Twitter. Text 40127 and keep things moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only
It's
way
8
to
after
start
8.
your day.
Very good morning to you, and how are you doing? Welcome to the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room, on this lovely Monday, the 17th day of January 2022. We are live on SpiceFM. We are live on SpiceFM KE on Facebook and on YouTube. And we are also live for the next 1 hour on KTN Home. Welcome to the audience on KTN Home. As we say, the 17th day of January 2022. It's on this day in 1991, that in 92 actually, 17th of January 1992, that the Democratic Party of Kenya was registered. And today in history, there's a photo, a beautiful photo here of DP Chairman Mwai Kibaki displaying the party's registration certificate to the press outside Sheria House, Nairobi, after receiving it from Registrar of Societies Omondi Mbago. Also present, John Keane, Ngengi Muigai, George Mohoho, Joseph Munyao, and other party members.
Wow.
Yeah?
All those individuals were household names at some point. Huh?
Yes, they were.
History is an amazing thing, is it not?
Yep. Yep.
How it relegates everyone to the past.
And new ones are born.
Yes.
And given the mental of the future.
On that date, I was a very happy class 2 pupil somewhere in Nairobi.
Really?
In 1992. Yes, I was in Standard 2.
How
Do you
old
know?
was in Standard 2? 8?
Yeah.
8. Okay.
And I think that's the beauty of life and history. Yeah. There's a time I remember, just a quick one. I was on a debate when I was chair of TNA with the SG of ODM, Professor Nyang Nyong'o. And that was around 2014. And so we banter. And then now, you know, when the points are finished, it's like, even you, what is it with you? Where were you when we were fighting for multipartism? I told him, I'd have loved to be there, but I was in class 2, and that's a lot of the generation you're talking about earlier today, about registering to vote. They think multipartism is moving from one party to another in terms of today.
It's
we're in
hopping
this
from
bash.
this.
It's party
I am
hopping.
a multi-partyist.
That is not their story. I'm a multi-partyist. Last night I was in this party. No. That's the generation you're trying to target today with old language. Poses a challenge. Anyway, good morning, guys. Great to be here.
Good morning. That is Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja, who's our guest this hour. Let's first begin with the day's proverb. City?
Yes. Jangwa la simba alikosekani mfupa.
Jangwa la simba halikosekani mfupa.
Yes.
That's a nice one.
The stomping ground of the lion
Is never void of bones.
See? Oh. Sikia kizungu baba.
Hey.
Stomping
Yes,
ground.
stomping void.
Yes.
Kitu kidogo kama mfupa. Mfupa is the only one that she couldn't have changed.
Yes. Good, Joe.
But you wait. You'll come up with a new word for bones.
Give me a minute.
Johnson Sakaja, Senator, welcome to the show.
Asante sana.
It's good to have you again on the Situation.
Always a pleasure to be here.
So we were talking about 1992.
Yeah.
You were in Standard 2.
Standard 2.
20 years later, December 2012, records will show that this same young man was the first one to sign a coalition agreement under the new constitution.
Yes.
As chairman of TNA.
Incidentally, yes. And I still have the original copy.
You have the original copy?
Yeah, that is stuff of archives, One day, we'll have it in the Presidential Library or Museum. That was the coalition agreement between TNA and the URP.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just, actually, you're right, 20 years later.
So historically, coalitions were a thing. And clearly, today, in today's politics, it would seem as though you're not able to function politically and otherwise, or it would be encouraged to enter into a coalition. Why is that? Because 20 years ago, it was the case. Today, it would seem as though it still is the case.
I think it's a good and a bad thing. It's a good thing because it allows people to team up with others, despite without having to move from the comfort of their political parties. So I can stay in my SpiceFM party and team up with another one for the purposes of winning an election or forming majority in government. It is bad because it means our politics is empty. Because if we can team up and we have similar ideology, why are we not in one party?
Right, and then I can't push you.
Yeah, then, so people are hedging, there's the fear of I mean, if we can come together and you can look at the political parties amendment, which we can discuss later, saying that you can have now something called a coalition party. So if we truly believe in the same thing, if we're coming together because of ideology, that this SpiceFM party believes in this, and Sakaja party believes in this, why not make it one party? Multipartism, now the real one, not this club hopping. Multipartism was not meant to give us just a plethora of parties, now to move us into tribal cocoons. The Dewa Kikuyu party, a Luya party, a Luo party. It was supposed to give us choice based on ideology. That you can know, for instance, like in many cases, in the States, you have the Republican ideology and the Democrat ideology. If I'm told Eric is a member of this party, I would almost predict how he'll vote when it comes to matters of the economy, big government versus small government, even other social issues. You'll be able to tell. Or Labour and Conservative in the UK. Now, we have, I think, 86 parties today in Kenya. Now, that is multi-partyism, Many of them are briefcase parties. Many of them are parties that exist for the purposes of cashing in after a nomination. Then there's a fallout. Then I give you a certificate for 200,000 bob. That I don't think that was a dream of those who pushed for the repeal of Section 2A. I don't think that is why people were detained. I don't think that's what happened then in 1992 when Mwai Kibaki had the certificate of DP. That is not what they were looking for. But we moved into that. That today, if you ask people, what is the major party in Ukambani? They will tell you. What are the major parties in Western? They'll tell you. So I think we are far behind and we're taking steps behind. One day I hope that then we'll have parties based on ideology. Because once you do that, anybody can become president. You'll have an El Molo becoming president because he might be the person who articulates best the ideology of that political movement. Then it's not about where are the Luos and where are the Luyas and where are the Kikuyus. For now, I don't see it.
But then, Mheshimiwa, there is always the argument about the evolutionary process of any political system. Where people start with what they know and understand. Tribal cocoons, people know and they understand. So if you form a political party along those lines, people understand and it is easy for them to follow. Now, the idea of ideology, it is good on paper. It is good when people talk about any thinking that they have or anything that was written on 2 pages as an ideology. The practice of it, unfortunately, is almost untenable because something fundamental that is supposed to be in government called governance. Okay? Is still a dream. It's something we hope for, we aspire towards. I'm arguing this. I'm saying there's a process that we go through, but that shouldn't be the excuse.
It's true, but when you talk about political evolution and say our democracy is young, it looks like our political evolution is retrogressive because we are going back instead of forward. If you look at the 50s and 60s, the political parties we had in this country were based on ideology. If you go through what the Tomboyas and the players then, the Lennox Boyd settlement, the Littleton Constitution, the debates between Kadu and Kanu were about ideology, whether it's Majimbo versus a centralized system. And at that time, you could not say that Kadu is a party of this community. Maybe the only difference you'd say it's big communities versus small communities.
It was a party of the minority communities.
But minority is better than saying this is a Kamba party or this is a Luya party, And you see, that was eroded after 1964 when now they came together. And then when KPU, later, broke off and then it was proscribed. It became like a sect, So our political evolution is almost retrogressive. But when you think of it really, I think it has a very direct correlation with the economy. And that's something people never look at. So Tony Blair says in his book that the hard black versus white or, the diametrically opposed ideology have no more space in a country whose economy is developing. Because the needs are the same. The manifesto of any party today will talk about water, we'll talk about roads, we need schools. It's about efficacy. So you will not see a very big difference between the manifesto of ODM and UDA. It will be very difficult to find that difference. But once you've sorted that out, ideology circles around softer issues. What do we think about when does life begin? What do we think about, even huge economic principles that have no space in a country where you're just trying to get people food? So there's two ways to look at it. But today, the political reality, 7 months of election, is that people will have to be in coalitions. People will have to team up because no party right now individually can make a straight shot at the presidency.
Mheshimiwa, what you're saying is absolutely true.
Yeah.
But I am thinking historically of countries that, because of the systems they had, allowed for dominance of one particular party. We had it. Germany learned from that. And they have, not as policy, it's legislated.
Yeah.
It isn't possible in a country like Germany for any one party to actually ever become completely dominant.
And you see, again, that goes hand in hand with their structure. So you have the Social Democrats, you have the Christian Democrats, etc., at the top level. But no one focuses so much on that because they're landers. Their form of federalism allows other parties that you'll never hear of to thrive in the different landers. And so I mean, if devolution worked for us today, honestly, how it was envisioned, how it was supposed to be, there'll be much less pressure on who becomes president, because your country is working the opportunities, and there's cohesion that comes as a result of equalizing opportunities down there. So there'll be less fast. People will be thinking, okay, in Wajir, who do we have here to give us, the goods of government? I think, as you've said, it's a place we're going to get to, such that then we will have, a party that I'm in this party because I believe in this. Because today, if you tell me that even on a debate on a bill or on BBI or on a constitution, that a professor from this community will think the same way as a cobbler from the same community, but differently from the professor from another community and a cobbler from that community. It's not about ideology. There is no special, I don't know, maybe there's something in that bill that is expressed in that language that they only understand. But, we pretend to be there, but we're not yet there.
Is this a journey? Is this part of our growth and journey in multipartism? Evolving system of democracy that in fact we're even localizing it. So in the West we look at it, ideology and all. But in Kenya, because of where we are right now, we are looking at it from the immediate and most basic need, family and then tribe. So it's all formed from that. We support our leaders who will bring something close to our home because they belong to our community, because they come from our village. Because they are our family members.
The problem that we have, and I'm very happy even as a leader in Nairobi, because even in this election, I've seen a pattern in Nairobi, that the harsh tribal divide in terms of who people are voting for is being eroded in Nairobi. I'll tell you, young people are thinking beyond that, especially the young people. Older people are thinking practically, look, we know what it means now to have had a governor of this kind or a president of this kind. It's affected my business directly. I'm going to vote based on issues. For us, it is happening. I can be able to see it. But for the rest of the country, why this happens is because we've not created an identity that supersedes the tribe. We've not told Kenyans what does it mean to be a Kenyan? What is a Kenyan identity? Are we just 50 million people stuck between 586,000 square kilometers who need to get along? When you don't create that identity, where someone does not derive any good from being a Kenyan, you go to what we call the least common denominator, which is your tribe. Because you find identity within your tribe. Such that even in those tribes, I mean, like a homogeneous place like Somalis, where the tribe is one, they now go to the lower common denominator, which is the clan. So you have clans, and countries that have been able to deal with that have had to be very deliberate. If you read the story of Lee Kuan Yew, he was telling people, if you're ethnic Malay, you will stay next to a Chinese and whatnot to make it happen. In the States, they had to partner with showbiz and media to create, Uncle Sam, to create a brand, Land of the Free, Home of the Brave, Captain America, and all of that. Because you had to create an identity that is bigger than this small one. But you see, and this is something I believe in so strongly. In the last parliament, 2013 to 17, I used to chair a committee called National Cohesion and Equal Opportunities. And at first I thought it's a mistake. Why would you call a committee National Cohesion and Equal Opportunities? But when I thought about it more, there's no way you'll have that Kenyan identity or cohesion without equalization of opportunities. So until a mother in Nanyuki knows that a child has the same shot at life as that of a parent in Kisumu. That you know that no matter where you're from, you'll have the same chance, you'll have the same opportunity. If you're the best accountant in KRA, no matter your tribe, you can rise to be Director General. If you're the best guy in the military, no matter who is president, you can become the chief of defense forces. Let me tell you, you'll have cohesion, and then we'll have a greater national identity. So that is a journey we need to get to.
But who's responsible for pushing that? I mean, sure, it's all of us, but then there are those who are graced with the platforms of doing this on a regular basis. Is there an understanding? Because you're talking about the mother in Nanyuki understanding that her child should have the same opportunity as somebody across the country.
Yeah.
Does the one who has the platform, politicians, for example, would-be leaders in the future, know that, hold on a minute, I really shouldn't be here for my personal or political expediency.
Yes.
What I should be here pushing is for the country as a whole, as one unified force. But how often do we hear those messages? How often do we hear?
It's very rare
that you're saying what we should be going for. And I'm not talking about the window dressing thing that we see on the platform during rallies. I'm talking about real messaging from current would-be future leaders who are talking about, you know what, folks, we need to be going beyond this.
You know, I mean, I don't want to point blame, but I'll give you a very recent example. In the past few hours, I was in Nyeri yesterday, and I said a couple of things. One of the things I said is that a mother in Nyeri feels the same pain when a child can't get food as that one in Nyeri. And the same, agony when the child hasn't. And the crowd got it, and they're like, yes, there's more that unites us than divides us. Then I said one or two things about Musalia Mudavadi. The first part was not covered by anyone because it's not fun. It's not interesting. It don't make for the headlines, But I was talking about why, there's more that unites us than divides us. And I've been very consistent with that message, but you'll never find it on your media. So it's all of us. There are those who voice out these things and we draw pictures, vivid pictures, about how when Mariga scored for Kenya or Injera, we all celebrate. When the athletes are winning, no one says that is a Kale. But then when we come down here to do our video, those messages need us to work with them. Because there are a lot of brilliant young leaders, even older leaders, with that kind of thing. But it's not fun. It doesn't make it. Conversation that is exciting. You want to say, okay, this is very important. Now that is the headline that people are going to focus on from what we say. But so it must be a consultation. And but whoever is in charge, because I believe that the reason why the president is in charge, it must be left with someone. And it must be consulted. So there is what the private sector must do. There is what the media must do. There is what government must do. When government does it, not just by talking, but by showing that if I am president, the bulk of my ministers do not have to for my community. In fact, when we're talking about today, I had some radical proposals. I said, if you president and deputy, and then maybe you have prime minister and those deputies and 22 cabinet secretaries, no two of those people should be from the same community. Yeah. So that even if we don't get, because there are 43 communities, yet there are 22 positions, we don't think we have not gotten because we're being looked down upon. It's just not yet our chance.
Yeah.
But today there are people with so much bitterness. There's somebody today working in a state, parastatal, or working in the military or in the police, and they know they're the best.
But they will
never rise. There's a guy in Central Bank who knows, because I am a Turkana, and I doubt that Turkana will be president, I will never be the governor of Central Bank. So you never have cohesion, because that person back at home will also make sure his house girl is from his community. Sure. He'll also make sure that now, I must, it changes our thinking. I think this is a wider conversation we need to have, but it's the problem. Once we fix that, we're going to fix our country in many respects.
Let's continue the conversation after the break. 27 after 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, on SpiceFM, KTN Home, and online. Our guest this morning is Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja. We are talking about the future of political coalitions in Kenya. Good morning.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Forgiveness is always conditional. Even before God, there's nothing like unconditional forgiveness.
Government doesn't pay you pension until you retire. In fact, they have no money for you. The day you retire, they look for it.
This country is punishing many young people. These young people are more susceptible to be deceived, to be taken advantage of, and they're more susceptible to be bought off.
Let us also talk about where we want our country to go. We are a population of very young people.
We're in a state of capture. The judiciary is under duress.
Parliament is in the pocket of the executive. You don't sit and wait for the regime to topple itself. It will never do so.
By the way, let me tell you, these guys are so persuasive. I'm telling you, they can persuade you to sell your grandmother. I'm telling you, they can sell sand in the desert.
City, has anybody on this program said to you as a guest, saying, "Oh, shut up, we don't want to be told what to do"? Has anybody that kind of? Has anybody been
I will not listen.
a bit of advice? Because you're working on the premise that we should all pay heed to these proverbs. It's a very suspect notion.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, sun's coming out in Nairobi at 17, highs of 22 and lows of 15.
The weather
Light
with
rain in
Spice
Nakuru at
FM.
16, highs of 21 and lows of 15. We'll see lows of 14 in Nyeri, where it's mostly cloudy at 19, going to highs of 24. Light rain in Eldoret continues at 14, highs of 19 and lows of 13 today. Mostly sunny conditions at 26 in Mombasa, with highs of 33 and lows of 25. In Malindi, sunny conditions at 27, highs of 31, and it's raining. In Kisumu at 19, highs of 25 and lows of 18, while in Kakamega rain also coming down at 18, highs of 24 and lows of 16. Light rain in Kampala continues, highs of 23 and lows of 17, while it's sunny in Dar es Salaam at 28, with highs of 31 and lows of 27. It's cloudy in Joburg at 17, highs of 22 and lows of 15, mostly cloudy in Lagos at 25, with highs of 32. We'll see highs of 29 in Kinshasa, where it's raining currently at 22.
Spice up your life.
All right, still continues on Mombasa Road this morning. Quite some traffic coming all the way from Sabaki and then heading out towards the SGR. So we're seeing there's a long line of traffic along the Imara Diamond stretch. For some reason, not quite sure what's happening there. Let us know. Southern Bypass taking a little bit of a hit, but you should be all right then getting into the city via that route. North Airport Road, Outer Ring, very, very slow today, feeding off from Manyanja as well as Kangunda Road. So that continues. Langata Road also continues. A lot of folks woke up this morning, did not know what was going on. So the diversions have been set. Sorry, guys, if you woke up to that. You just have to keep going the long way. Still continues going into the city from the thicker superhighway, right in the middle of traffic hour. It looks like it's going to last for some time. Shall we talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter? Text on 40127.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
The Situation Room. It continues with Eric Latiff, CT Muga Ndu Okoh, and our guest, Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja. The future of political party coalitions in the country. CT.
Mheshimiwa, do you really think that this quest we have for being Kenyan and being one people will ever be achieved if we do not energetically and realistically tackle what we like referring to as our historical injustices?
I don't. We need to. Of course, when a vehicle has a bigger windscreen than the rearview mirror, and we don't drive backwards. But the thing with history and these historical injustices and the stories you're told, even for those who, for instance, the generation I'm talking about of club hopping, aka multipartism, and may not understand those things, they're raised with some bitterness, yeah, and
it isn't some,
a lot of bitterness,
yes,
a lot of bitterness, and unless there is effort, and solving these things doesn't take much. I remember one of the things that have been mentioned in the TJRC report, which again is lying somewhere, was an apology by the government for the historical injustices, especially Wagala massacre and what happened in the north. I remember the day President Uhuru Kenyatta actually made that apology during one of the State of Nation addresses. For the rest of us who have not gone through it, we just thought his spoken words. I saw certain colleagues shedding tears, and they felt relief. Some of them from Wajir, some of them from Mandela, from that area. Now that apology for them meant more than even putting aside 1 billion shillings to build a monument for historical injustices, etc. There's certain responsibility because government exists in perpetuity. It might not have been him who did it, or the next government, but just acknowledging that, look, we wronged each other on many respects. If you remember what was this, the Justice and Reconciliation thing in Rwanda, that people came and said, look, I did this to your family, I did this.
The Gachacha courts.
The Gachacha courts, Because as Africans, our justice is not necessarily retributive, but restorative. But until you have those conversations, it'll be very difficult because everyone will be trying to get ahead. Yeah? But you can't get ahead when you're trying to get even. So that you wait for our time. Mutaona. Then okay, wacha sisi ile siku tutapata. An eye for an eye, we will lose our side. So until we have these conversations and with an end not to necessarily punish, but to acknowledge. The communities in this country, they just want that acknowledgement, recognition. The people who have just fought to be acknowledged as a community in Kenya, for instance, to be accepted as who they are, for their culture to be respected. I think we need to do that. But as we do that, as I've said, the rearview mirror is smaller than the windscreen. What are those specific things we must do to ensure equality of opportunities for all? Inclusivity. And it's small things. Some people say, oh, these are just jobs for the boys. But I can give you an example. If you go to City's Place, for instance, yeah, and you even create tarmac until everybody's house, until the door, but they don't see Baba somewhere in government, they'll feel excluded. Imagine you're a nation of nations. And that's why in some parts of the world, political systems like consocialism exist, where even they rotate and they say, okay, let's all come together corporately. And that was the only reason I supported some of the arguments within the BBI. But really it is about equalizing opportunities. That I know that if, I'm a country of meritocracy, that if I'm good at this, I know I'll make it, and I don't have to be in Nairobi to make it. My child in Lamu has the same shot at life, same quality of education, same quality of healthcare as a child in Kisumu, as a child in Kitale. That is when I will start seeing a change in how we focus our country.
And I think our political leaders know this very well. They know that, down at our communities, we are looking at those opportunities being representation, being inclusivity in decision-making. And our politicians have taken advantage of that by making it appear as if when I have been appointed, then our representation works. Whereas it's still a fallacy. And that's why you'll see, for example, right now, you'll talk about right now, why is it that people in Mount Kenya would complain about the presidency of Uhuru Kenyatta and the administration of Uhuru Kenyatta? There's sharply divided opinion on what he's achieved, what he hasn't. Why is it that you'd see those kind of conversations still happening despite electing a leader to national office and being central to? It's because the politicians, the political class, those guys that you hobnob with, have made sure that the discourse is, if one of us is up there, read me, then we are okay.
It's a mix of both. So someone from certain areas that have been in power may not have the authority to say that because you've been there, you've had someone there and you've demystified it. Somebody from a community that has never tasted that power, because you remember we spoke about identity, and identity gives pride. Yeah, that even now we can walk with our heads up high. From the part of the country I'm from, and for many times we've called ourselves the grievance community and said, just let this thing pass that that part of the country, to ski kitu. And it might not amount to, political decisions are not rational. Political decisions have nothing to do with facts. It is emotional. It is how people just feel a sense of pride that actually, yes, even us we can, and we can make it. Now the problem is the politician has now transferred that pride, and that's why they don't want that national identity to say that, our pride will come from Sakaja being elected. That if Sakaja has been elected now, and of course Sakaja will go and do things for himself or for his community, So those conversations need, because we give politicians too much power. I don't know if it's an African thing where we've had kings and big chiefs, that we have this big man thing, but we've given them too much power. In many countries, I was in Canada recently, just to finish, a few months ago when they were doing their elections. A country like Canada, a huge economy, one of the biggest economies in the world, was having a presidential election in 2-3 weeks, and you could not tell. There are no rallies. You just see some small, there are no billboards. Just some small banners on outside people's gardens. There are no trucks, loaders passing. You vote for this guy. Because they have reached a quality of life where there's equality of opportunities. That it doesn't matter who is in charge, but the rule of law we have, the kind of society we've created, will be good, will be okay. And many countries, for us, for 4 years, we're happy about it's our time. Our person must be there. So we must get to that level.
But you see, that example is often given, and if one were to speak bluntly, developed nations developed on the back of other nations.
Yes.
That they subjugated completely and mercilessly.
That's true.
I've said that and I'll just leave it there.
But it's true.
However, if you look at the progress we've made as a nation, you know, the creation of the counties is one of the most beautiful things that I have actually ever witnessed, personally, in the years that I have lived, and there are few. When we talk about this community leadership and the issues that have to do with our tribes, in my mind, the county system sorted it out. County is yours. The leader is yours.
The corruption
is yours. The opportunities are yours. And now, forget everything cascading back to the national government and the president and the deputy. No. If you look at the billions that the counties have received, and they've all received billions, some hundreds, some tens of billions, simple question that is asked, okay, what is it do you see in these counties that represents the money that they have been given?
And in some counties you can see it.
That is precisely my point.
Some counties you can, and I'm glad you've said that, because when I was fighting for Nairobi to be returned as a county, I was like a lone voice in the wilderness, and not even close to John the Baptist, but I was the only voice. Even my colleagues were like, we were told not to touch a comma. Remember, one of the versions of BBI had said Nairobi should be under the national government. I think last time I came here, we explained why.
Right.
I was giving that argument, because if devolution is the biggest gift that we've given to this country, why then make 10% of this population not be eligible for that gift? And I kept saying, look, we can make Nairobi work. Let's make Nairobi work. Because two people have not been able to do it, doesn't mean it cannot be done. Yeah. I think in the same breath, we've had now, the second generation of governance, of devolution. In the first, season 1 of devolution, counties were doing actually very badly. Most counties were even collecting less than the former councils were collecting in terms of own source revenue.
Yes.
And I know there was a huge, and the UNDP helped, there were a lot of county support, and the revenue issue started being sorted out. And some places like Wajir and Mandera saw their first tarmac in 50 years. They started seeing water systems coming, and there have been great success there. It's always easier to talk about what's negative, but there are certain things that have actually worked. The second season of devolution is where then now we started seeing MCAs understanding that, look, we have an oversight role. And we've seen impeachments, we've seen more accountability. It is not where it should be. But I believe the next season of devolution, where I hope I'll be one of the people implementing it as CEO of Nairobi, we'll see now people really receiving the fruits of devolution. Inclusivity, an organized county. A place where from your estate, wherever you stay, you have a say in what your taxes are doing for you there. Because that is when, devolution is based on the principle of subsidiarity, that a service is best offered at the lowest level compatible with the benefit of that service. So area resident associations, within the estates, you know what you need in pipeline. You know what you need in your estate. Now I have a 40 billion budget. How comes you guys can't participate in us saying, look, here, this is my priority.
Yep.
Instead of just having a guy up there at City Hall sitting and deciding
where the money should go.
Where the money should go. And that's why I said we must break down Nairobi into boroughs, at least 4 boroughs to begin with. The person in charge of roads in Kayole cannot be the same person dealing with roads in South Sea, or water. And if you have an issue with rates in Karen, you don't have to you must deal with it at Langata. Once season 3 of devolution now presents that, because you've dealt with a lot of the human resource issues, we've set up the structures, you have people in place, I think people will start receiving the true fruits of devolution. And that's what we intend to do in Nairobi County, for instance.
You know what's a bit sad, though, is that as we're having all these political campaigns and formations of one alliance versus another, we are not seeing a lot of prominence being given to devolution.
Yeah.
In terms of messaging. Not One Kenya Alliance, not UDA, not... The other one is what?
Azimio.
Azimio, right? We don't see that. So, for instance, I think you're in One Kenya Alliance. We see you going around to the One Kenya Alliance meetings. Yes?
Yes.
So, One Kenya Alliance, for instance, what is it that it says about devolution? How is it working to ensure that many of Oka members join the county assembly, join the county executive?
Again, I think those are some of the messages that have fizzled out because of the political noise. Because I remember when we had this meeting of Oka with all the parties talking about harmonizing the different policy approaches of the parties to come together. Devolution was very prominent. I visited around 6 or 7 counties with His Excellency Musalia, and the first thing he would do is to go visit.
Excellency.
Yeah, he's a former vice president. His Excellency.
Musalia
Mudavadi. Yeah, I mean, you know those titles go.
Yes, we get it.
Yeah, even prime minister is called prime minister.
Yeah, right, honorable.
And we don't even have it in the constitution anymore.
Yes.
But anyway, and the first port of call would be the county assembly and the governors and the MCAs, and really to encourage them. They had thoughts around the BBI at that point. We're waiting to hear the manifesto of any of the parties. I think what has become more fancy to report on about the politics, and I think the future of our coalitions, maybe we might have 2 or 3 opposed, possibly even diametrically opposed sides, where one is saying the priority in this country is about unity. Azimio la Umoja. I think they will focus more on the issue of unity and unifying this country, and the other coalition will focus on the economy. I see that as the 2 distinct ways of looking.
The only 2 coalitions?
The 2 major ones, or if they resolve to that, to being 2. Right now, there are 3. I'm not too sure whether they'll remain as 3. But one thing I know is that there'll be 2 thoughts. The 2 thoughts can be by one party and another, or 2 parties will think one way. But the 2 different distinct thoughts, I don't think there'll be a third thinking. It will be about what is the priority. Is it about unity first, or is it about the economy first? And we've seen different similar messages. You've seen Musalia Mudavadi very keen about the macroeconomic issues. He talks about public debt. He talks about the cost of living. He talks about government expenditure, and he deals a lot on the macroeconomy. I've had also some dizzy ideas from some people saying, "Oh, let's cut tax into half." Surely, but people are trying to skirt around the issue of the economy. I won't mention who that was. We hear the UDA people, the deputy president, talking about microeconomic issues. About small businesses, about trying to create a fund to help.
Not a fund. Funds.
Many funds.
Okay, what I've heard about is a fund that will, I think, 100 billion or something.
That's the magic number.
That's the number they've been banding around to give small businesses so that you can raise them from the bottom up. So there's macroeconomy, there's microeconomy. This other side, their talk about the economy is about let's give everybody who has no job 6,000 bob. And then you have possibly the Cobra effect.
And there's Baba Care.
And Baba Care. Baba Care is, Obamacare, Oparanya did it in Kakamega, Oparanya Care. I think it's something we must all do. When I was campaigning for governor in 2016, I was talking about Sakaja Care, where I said 500,000 households must get insurance for health, and that's important. But economically, the issue has been, job relief, or what we call in some parts of the world, minimum guaranteed wage, and so those are the topics that we now need to start focusing on as we move to the election.
Universal basic income.
Universal basic income, which has its pros and cons, because you have what you call the Cobra effect.
But these are all just talk.
I don't think so.
At the end of the day, the coalitions are going to be tribal.
I hope not.
So the Western Kenya Coalition, which has Ford Kenya, Amani, what is Jirongo's party?
I don't even know.
It's Jirongo's party, and then it has KANU and Wiper. It's a tribal bloc and tribal blocks coming together. Then you have Azimio, again, looking at tribal blocks. On the big tribal, it's all tribal blocks.
We can focus on the blocks,
which we shall just say, this one, our difference here is like you told us in 2013. Our difference is because we are young, we are digital, and all, and the others are not. They are analog. Same difference.
I don't think so. You see, you can tell how sincere somebody is in his messaging because if they are consistent. If you're so consistent on a message that it's even become your brand. Today, if you ask any Kenyan, which politician has been consistently talking about the economy, they'll tell you who it is. They'll tell you who it is. Or who has consistently been talking about the need to unify this country, they'll tell you who it is. And so, in as much as we may choose to look at this coalition in terms of the tribal makeup of their leaders and their old approach of galvanizing their communities, which is something that is happening and it has been there, we can also decide to change the conversation and create a juxtaposition between the distinct messaging they're having on certain issues. So if this team is talking about Babacare, whenever you have a politician from UDA or that other side, ask them, what is your policy on health? Because Kenyans are not hearing that. Yeah. If this other team is talking about universal basic income, you should ask the other people, what is your strategy on dealing with unemployment? Then we start guiding the conversation, because it must be guided.
When are these opportunities presented to sit down or to even have more than 5 minutes with those who are presenting these positions? And I can have 5 minutes to ask you, because in a day we're having people hopping from one place to the next during campaign season. And then when do I ask you the how? Because that's the question we've been having in this room. And I've said that if you want to see if somebody is genuine, really, yes, they would be consistent in their messaging, but then they would be able to explain to you
in
detail the how. That means they have an intimate knowledge of this information.
Yes.
And because they have an intimate knowledge of that, means that they've bothered to study it.
Exactly.
That's the only way you can go through it.
Yeah.
It's not going to be just the top layer. You've gone in depth and you figured this can be a way I can do this.
The platform is provided by you.
But when beyond Sakaja coming and sitting in this room and having this conversation with us, and you're saying now we ask, if you say you're going to have Babacare and you're Nyamira now, Kitale the next minute, and then you're somewhere else in a day, when are these opportunities being provided for people to share this information?
That is why we have presidential debates. That is why we should have policy debates where you have the secretary generals of these parties coming. You guys have the platform right now. Hundreds of thousands of Kenyans are listening to us, and I think watching us on KTN Home. Yeah, they can be able to, for instance, if you want to talk about Nairobi, I'm very, very ready to go into details of how we'll make Nairobi work. You understand? And I'd be happy to do that with the other people who have an opposing view. Then we educate the citizen and let them be able to make that decision. This, it is you guys who give us a platform. Today, if I do a rally in Jacaranda ground, it's only 2,000 guys who listen to me.
Yeah, but
unless a media was broadcast.
Why don't you engage those 200,000 people or 2,000 people with the how? When you parachute into Nyamira, for example, and then you get out of Nyamira at the end of the day, how much time have you dedicated into explaining the how?
You see, now, that's what I'm saying. The best platform for that is media. That's the best platform. You guys should say, today, we're going to have these two sides telling us the how. We many times we downplay the actual role you guys have when it comes to democracy, because you determine the questions you ask. I didn't come here with my set of questions. If we started at 8 with how, we'd have had an hour of how. The role you guys have in this election is amazing, and I hope you can come together, all media houses, and decide as we move to the election, maybe after April when parties are on the nomination, April, May, we'll have a policy debate on issues. We'll say, okay, this week it's healthcare, let's hear. This other week it's agriculture, let's hear. Because we don't want, even I don't want to vote for somebody who is very heavy on verbosity but very light in terms of actual policy interventions, because that is why you elect a government, to implement certain policy. I need to come and tell you, okay, how am I going to do the mass transit in Nairobi?
That's true.
I need to tell you, how will I make sure that we give guys jobs in the city? And then you hear whoever, they keep creeping up every day. I don't even know how many I have still. But how many opponents who have come up for the same seat, what they will say they want to do?
How many are you now? 13?
I'm not sure. I'm just
How many want to be Nairobi governor?
Are we going to break anything?
No. Why are you guys?
No, I'm just asking. You see, this galvanizing of votes in tribal blocks, in my mind, is not an issue. The issue is when you galvanize people on tribal blocks and you castigate and you in a very toxic way, you brand other communities negatively rather than individuals. That's where the problem comes in. Because to be realistic, given the areas we all come from, how are you going to galvanize people without you talking to a community? And that community is part of that tribe. So the false notion that we are Kenyans without our tribes, I'm calling it a false notion. And this false notion that tribalism is bad, it is not. Diversity has never been bad. It is how it is used and how it is presented and how it is used to explain ills that have been committed, things that leaders know they ought to have done, blaming it on other communities. Is this never-ending cycle of leaders taking positions where the tribe card is what they use to explain everything that they did not want to deal with. That's where the problem is, in my view.
I agree and disagree. I disagree. You see, tribes are not bad. In fact, the preamble of our constitution talks about the beauty of our diversity. Tribes are not bad. But the ism is what is bad, the tribalism. That vote for me because I'm from this tribe. That anybody who is not of our tribe does not deserve leadership because they're not ours. Tribalism is where you become an ethnic chauvinist and believe that, look, you might not have the opportunity, for instance, to exercise your tribalism because maybe you're not in public space, yeah? So you're not making appointments. But many Kenyans should ask themselves, why is it that your house help must be from this same community? Or that this worker must be from that community? Then you expect you to act differently in public office. Tribalism is what I think is wrong.
Mheshimiwa,
Yeah.
if I come from a place called Muhoroni,
Yeah.
okay? If I'm vying for a seat, which tribe do I expect to vote for me?
Of course, Muhoroni.
Yeah, precisely, they're Luos. So I'm simply saying, what you say makes sense. You're talking about at the national level.
Yes.
But the ascendancy to leadership, unless you are in a big town.
Like Nairobi.
Or Nakuru, just a big town, which is cosmopolitan. It won't happen. You are going to be voted for by people who speak your language. That's how it works.
I'll give you an example. In the last election, I voted against somebody from my community.
Yes.
And so it was never an issue. But I was able to get votes from both Jubilee and ODM because we talked issues. We spoke about issues. And that is why I had, I think, 840,000. And my party leader had 600 and something thousand, 700,000. Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga had just hardly 800,000. Because we could be able to say, look, I am Nairobi. We have 43 communities. There is no Kikuyu pothole or Luo lack of water or Kamba, lack of traffic. All our issues are the same issues. And I wish, and that's why for me I can't do rural politics. It's very difficult. The people who thought I'll go to the rural area, all I know is Nairobi. You go there, we're told, Janyako alikuwa mchawi, your grandfather denied who what. Me, I know the urban politics of issues. So tribe is not bad, but making someone know that your ascension in life will be because of your tribe, or the reason you will not get an opportunity will be because of your tribe, that is what is negative.
Right.
So they can be positive. Let's bring our diversity to the fore. In Nairobi, we're going to be having a Nairobi Cultural Festival annually, where we're going to do art and music and dance and have food from all communities. That is something we're going to be doing annually to now sell the spirit. What is the soul of this city? That is a positive way of looking at where we are from, because we are from somewhere.
Mheshimiwa, you got it right when you talked about opportunities.
Yes.
The absence of it is what helps heighten the ism that you're talking about.
The ism, the negative aspect
yes,
of it.
because if it was understood that irrespective of where I come from, I have an equal opportunity.
You can be anything.
It wouldn't matter.
But it's not understood at this moment.
Oh, no, it isn't.
Unfortunately, there are very many people, even leaders, who actually feel that if I am not from a particular place, then I'm out of the bracket already.
I had a very sad thing, and I wanted to text her, but she's in a different party. That my women rep was being told, for instance, that because of her community, and because of how they've decided to share the other seats, she cannot vie again. I saw that online. I wanted to ask her why. Because I think they want a governor and a senator from the same community. I said that should never be the issue. And that is what we fought in 2013 with Mike Sonko. You remember we were being told, oh, a certain community wants this seat. Now, does Nairobi need a Luya governor or a Kikuyu governor?
Or does it
need a governor of Nairobi?
Governor?
Yes. A competent governor. Because as I've told you, there is no Luya lack of drugs in the hospitals or Jaluo one. Our issue is the same. So I want to encourage her wherever she is that if what I've heard is true, she must stick her guns. That is politics of the past, and it has no space in Nairobi. If she's competent, she's done well, let her go for it.
Let's say goodbye to the audience on KTN Home. We've been with us since the top of the hour. The conversations continue with Johnson Sakaja, Nairobi Senator, and in the next hour we'll also have more conversations. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Okay, 2.5 minutes to the top of the hour. So, Senator, as we conclude the conversation this morning, future of political coalitions in Kenya. What's the immediate future? What do you see as we get into this election?
I think the immediate thing that we must do is actually really this period we have, get young people to register to vote. Tell them how important it is, and that bad leaders are elected by good people who do not vote. You know, that's, I think, the immediate thing that we must do. Now, in the coming weeks and days, there'll be a lot of, it is the season, that mud season. People are going to talk to each other. People are going to form, coalitions. People are going, and conversations are going on. And what we've said, and I think what I've said with Musalia Mudavadi and on his behalf, is that let no one choose for your friends. Yeah, talk to everybody across board. See who you can team up with as you go for the presidency. Some people have tried to define for him who his friends are and who his friends should not be. And say no. There's no one with political leprosy in this country. There's no political leper. Let us talk and think about this country first. Because the reason why we fought for democracy, people have died for it. People have been beaten up. What Kina Njoya have gone through, and even the Railas and whatnot, was for us to have freedom of association, freedom of speech, freedom to come together with whoever it is and present your agenda to the people. The bad thing I saw yesterday, and I'm sure all of you saw it, the infusion of violence in our politics, I think must be condemned by all, to the highest level, and by whoever does it. Yeah. Whatever side it is, the remarks even that are coming out, I remember what the remarks made in Eldoret, and then the response made by Nyonka and Kisi, we cannot let our country slide to that level. And as politicians, I think we need a pact to the media. I remember when I was chair of a party, I had the opportunity to say, look, can I sit down with the leaders of the other parties and we agree that if we're having an event and one of my speakers slips and says something divisive, the media, please don't cover any part of that event. If all parties agree to that, then that toxicity won't be there.
Asante sana.
Asante sana.
Senator Johnson Sakaja with us in the studio this morning talking about the future of political coalitions. He'll tell us soon which way Oka is going.
I'll tell you
Very
soon
good morning.
which way Nairobi is going.
9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
The SpiceFM Newswire is brought to you by InDriver. Choose your preferred driver, mode of transport, and negotiate your fare to your destination for a safe, comfortable, and affordable trip only with InDriver.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. President Janos Adler of Hungary is in the country for a 4-day state visit. The Hungarian head of state, who is accompanied by First Lady Anita Hetek, was received at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport by ICT Cabinet Secretary Joe Musheru and Foreign Affairs CS Ambassador Rachel Omamo. President Adler is expected to hold bilateral discussions with his host President Uhuru Kenyatta during his official visit. They will be officially received by President Kenyatta and First Lady Margaret Kenyatta at State House Nairobi today. Kenya and Hungary have enjoyed warm and strong bilateral ties dating back to 1964 when Hungary established an embassy in Nairobi. Now, the IEBC is asking Kenyans who have not registered as voters to turn out in large numbers from today as it launches the second phase of the registration exercise. IEBC chairperson Ofula Chebukati says the commission is targeting 4.5 million Kenyans in this phase.
Today, the 17th of January 2022 marks the beginning of the second and final phase of the enhanced continuous voter registration exercise in preparation for the 9th of August 2022. The registration will run for the next 21 days and close on the 6th of February 2022 in all the 1,450 town assembly wards across the country, institutions of higher learning, and Huduma centers.
During the exercise, Kenyans who are not registered as voters or those that want to change their voting centers have been asked to do so between today and 6th of February. It will be remembered that in the last registration exercise, IEBC registered 1.5 million Kenyans against a target of 6 million unregistered individuals. Now, as the August 9th general elections continue to approach, political realignment continue to be witnessed across the political divide, with aspirants making moves they feel will easily propel them to position of power. ODM parties, the latest beneficiaries of political maneuvers, out of 34 candidates who defected from Jubilee Party and Ford Kenya in Trans Nzoia County, joined the outfit. Saboti MP Caleb Amisi said all indications are that the party would win more seats in the country, with party leader Raila Odinga as the country's 5th president.
Today is an exciting moment for the ODM party in Trans Nzoia. We have received defectors in a single day and we've not started. So we want to appreciate people who have seen the light and joined the party that is going to form the next government.
Amisi said ODM is ready to fight for its position in the coalition under the Azimio la Umoja movement in a free, fair and transparent manner.
We are here to send a strong message. We are in a coalition, Azimio la Umoja. Baba is the 5th president. We have unanimously agreed to support Baba as the ODM party flag bearer. And we have also determined to compete favorably, equally with our affiliate parties who are under Azimio la Umoja. And we are going to stamp our authority as the mother party of Azimio la Umoja. And we are going to flex our muscles properly. And may the winning party take the flag bearer of Azimio la Umoja.
The Nairobi Metropolitan Services has halted the construction of approximately 870 houses in Kilimani. Through a letter from the Director of Lands S.G. Mwangi, the NMS stated that the construction of the 870 houses had been suspended on grounds that the layout was not in accordance with the law. The suspension followed complaints from residents and owners of a plot of land where the construction would take place. Now, more than 1 million beneficiaries under the Inua Jamii cash transfer program are set to receive 8.9 billion shillings from the government so as to cushion them against the prevailing hard economic times. Public Service and Special Programs Cabinet Secretary Margaret Kobia says the payments will be credited into the accounts of the duly registered beneficiaries beginning today. Kobia said each of the beneficiaries will receive 8,000 shillings, being payment for months of March, April, May and June. The statement further noted that those enrolled under the NICHE program will receive an additional amount of up to 4,000 shillings per household. And a massive volcanic eruption in Tonga that triggered tsunami waves around the Pacific caused significant damage to the island nation's capital and smoothed it in dust. But the full extent was unclear, with communication still hampered today. The eruption was so powerful, it was recorded around the world and heard as far away as Alaska, triggering a tsunami that flooded Pacific coastlines from Japan to the United States. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said the capital, Nuku'alofa, suffered significant damage, adding there had been no reports of injury or death, but a full assessment was not yet possible with communication lines down. And the East African Safari Rally Classic and Standard Group will today launch a partnership of the world's greatest classic rally. The rally, scheduled to take off on the 10th of February 2022 in Naivasha, has attracted over 50 international drivers drawn from across the world. We are following up on this and we'll update you in our subsequent bulletins. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, so what are we looking at a few minutes after 9 o'clock? Still some traffic on our roads this morning. Quite some on the Thika Superhighway trying to get into the city centre, and that's moving along quite slowly. Mombasa Road also continues, and we're looking at quite some coming off Gong Road, Raila Odinga Way, community into the city. It doesn't look pretty at all, folks. The Thika Superhighway still continues quite heavy, as does Kiambu Road. And we're looking at quite a lot of traffic coming out of Westlands. It's that Monday morning, that one that you thought we would escape. No, decided he's here with us. Let's talk, guys, on SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127. Tell us what you see, because quite a lot happening this morning. Let's see how we can help.
The SpiceFM Newswire is brought to you by InDriver. Download the InDriver app from the App Store or Google Play Store to enjoy a safe, comfortable, and affordable ride around Nairobi.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room,
8 minutes
the
after
only
9.
way
How
to
you
start
doing?
your
Thank
day.
you very much for keeping it locked right here on Spice FM. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. We're live on Spice FM and also on Spice FM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Ronnie Reagan said, "Hatutaki siasa ya pesa mbili sisi." We must start reasoning like a mature nation, whereby no community is better than this and that. We all matter. Siasa mbaya, uchumi mbaya, nchi mbaya. City, today's proverb.
Jangwa la simba halikosekani mfupa.
Jangwa la simba halikosekani mfupa.
The stomping ground of the lion is never void of a bone.
You're right. Okay.
It's like asking if in Kenyan politics there's ever a level playing field. So if I were to attach this to our politics, in Kenyan politics,
there's never.
No, I'll make it a statement. There's always talk of a level playing field, but in reality, there is none.
There's nothing like level playing field.
Level playing field? No. Level playing field, hypothetically speaking, is a wonderful thing to have. But when there's competition and people are vying for it on, let's say, political parties, and we have the very clear divide that we have, where's the playing field? The playing field within political parties, those in the leadership have preferences. So what's level about it?
Not level.
Somebody who comes into vying on a political party and you are not favored by the people who run the party, do you stand a chance? So where's the level playing field? Level playing field means it doesn't matter who you are. You have an equal chance. Now we see in our politics a situation where you are nullified. You are brought to ground zero at the party nominations.
Like it never existed.
The hue and cry is usually huge at that level. Oh, you know this, I stood for this, and I did the other, and I did the other. And given the regional preferences for parties, that nomination is usually fought for because it brings about a near guarantee of election. Because if you're in the right party and it's in the right region, then your chances of being elected are higher. Yes. So, level playing field, Gani.
Marongo.
Gani, which level playing field? It's just a discussion, and it's nice sounding words that are uttered to make people feel that this democracy is working. And yet, you know, this Western style democracy, I'm ranting here, this Western style democracy that we're talking about is actually being put to question as to whether it is the only form of democracy that people should follow. Yes. Even in the West where it's supposed to be working, it's not really working. Not really.
They've had to keep tweaking it here and there.
They've had to tweak it, and what I'm talking about is not tweak. I'm talking overhaul. You know, when people talk about the differences in political parties, and you talk about, say, the UK, and you talk about conservative Labour, Tony Blair brought in the concept of New Labour. You couldn't distinguish New Labour from Conservatives in terms of what they were putting across. It's just a name.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is, all these changes taking place are indicative of how it is this evolutionary process that human beings go through is happening. But certain old things...
Is it happening, though, in our country? If you look at, say, the last 30 years of our multi-party democracy now, are there changes?
There are huge changes. And then there are certain things which haven't moved an inch. They were what they were, and they still are what they are. For instance, the way parties function and the way parties favor certain candidates. For instance, I'm going there. It doesn't change. if you are affiliated to a bigwig in a political party, there are certain guarantees that you have.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So this level playing field we're talking about is which one?
In fact, now we're entrenching it further.
Yes.
This political parties amendment bill that's before the Senate now, it's basically providing for two forms of nominations, direct and indirect nomination.
Yes.
So people sitting in a room somewhere, the leaders of a party can decide, we are giving the certificate of nomination to C.T. Muga because he's the best suited candidate for this particular constituency.
But that is what happens.
Question. Now, this one is formal.
Right.
CTO, come, Q. Don't bother.
We can sit and make that decision. But what is happening is that it's formalizing what has been the practice.
Yes.
It's just saying, all right, instead of making it appear as though it were dodgy in any form, let's now put it in an act. Let us make it so that there will be no eyebrow raising should this come about, so that you know this is where we are. But hasn't it always been that if you're affiliated to an individual, that is what would now guarantee that you get this position.
The ticket.
And it isn't unique to Kenya, by the way.
No, it isn't.
No, it isn't.
It isn't.
But since we are talking about Kenya and our politics, the issue of a level playing field shouldn't even be uttered because it doesn't exist. It doesn't. It's quite simple.
It's not there. I mean,
it's not there. There is nothing of that sort. Level playing field in politics in this country. This isn't a glass half full or half empty situation. This is a non-existent glass.
There's a field, actually. We don't even have a playing field in Kenya.
Well, look, there's a field. It just happens to be that there are different sports being played on the same field. Some people are playing tennis and others are playing football, and you're all supposed to make it happen on a field hockey pitch, for example.
That we're playing hockey.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is
but
how
some people don't have a racket, others don't have shoes.
And yet we're playing hockey.
Yes. Okay. So, really just depends on how you look at it.
Okay. So we've got to switch up the conversations now, and we will go into motorsport. The Standard Group is the official media partner of the East African Safari Classic Rally, slated for February 10th to 18th, following a partnership between the media company and the East Africa Safari Classic Rally, which will be sealed this morning at the Standard Group's head office. The Standard Group has committed to provide media value to the iconic race to the tune of 21 million shillings. And this is according to Standard Group CEO Orlando Lyomo, who says, "We are proud to be the exclusive media partners. This sponsorship will go a long way in ensuring the rally gets extensive coverage and high level of visibility of international standards." When we talk about the classic rally, CT, you are throwing in the names. It's the old cars.
Driven by older people. Since I fall into the category of old people, it's something I can resonate with easily. See, our guests agree with me. They've even brought a guy on my immediate right who's trying very hard to qualify as old.
For me, I am a young man.
You brother, Bado.
It's great to know that we are driving a car. Actually, we are age mates with a car.
Come again.
A car that was made on the day you were born.
A car that was made on the day I was born. So we share a birthday with the car.
Our guest this morning, Eric Bengi, he's going to be a driver, and Gatimu Mindo, a navigator for this particular classic rally that begins next month. Karibuni sana, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So tell us about this car that you'll be driving that is surely Gatimu.
We're driving a Datsun 180B. It was manufactured in 1974. So it's a car that has been around for as long as I've also been around. It's what we'd call a thrill to drive. For nowadays, people don't know about carburetor cars. When you hear about a carburetor car, guys are like, what are those?
What's that?
Yes, this is the standard 1800cc carburetor Datsun 180B. Rear-wheel drive. And I can tell you for free that it's a car that can move.
These cars were doing really well in the days when they were in the rally.
Oh, yes. You see, the difference between these cars and
the cars then and the cars now is actually just a 0 to 100. But this car, when it gets to 100, it stays at 100. Now these cars, they take a shorter time to stay to get to 100, but there's no space to maintain the 100. You get?
No.
As in, the rallies nowadays.
Where do they go to after 100?
After the 100, where they go? Are we going below?
No. You get to a corner, you stop, you get to a village. I mean, the short course races.
Right.
Yeah, you find a section of a race is about 30 kilometers. We're going to be doing 200 in one section from start to end. 5,000 kilometers in 10 days is.
And actually, I think that's a very good intro. Let's talk about this Safari Classic Rally. What is it, and how different is it from the Safari Rally?
Number one, the Safari Classic is an endurance race. We are doing 5,000 kilometers as opposed to what we do in the local national championship, which is about 150 competitive kilometers. You can already see the gap.
Yeah.
Secondly, for the Safari Classic, there's no recce. You don't go for reconnaissance of the road. You drive blind. You start, you go. You are given the notes the previous evening, and you run. So it's a question of balancing between speed, caution, and navigation. The third thing is that this is a race for 10 days, 10 consecutive days. You are traversing virtually all the counties across Kenya. You distinguish that from the national competition rallies, which is, in a closed space, maybe in a farm, 150 kilometers. Sometimes we do Soisambu and we don't even get to do half of it. But this one, we are moving from Naivasha, you go to Nakuru, to Nanyuki. I'm not sure whether we'll cross through Meru. Then we are down to Amboseli, Taveta, and ending in Watamu. It's quite an endurance race and quite long.
So this time, are you not going to Tanzania?
No, this year we are not going to Tanzania. I think from the organizers' point of view, there were a lot of complications with the COVID protocols since last year. So I think they redesigned the route just to go around Kenya.
Sure. You know, this sounds to me, I'm smiling because, yes, you move from Naivasha, go around the country.
Cross over Nanyuki.
Yeah, this thing of running around in a farm, I've never understood how that is a rally. Farm, just surely.
Yes, and that is what you were saying. From 0 to 100, you do it in a few seconds in the current rallies. But thereafter, there's nowhere to go. The corners here, there. I mean, it is just start, stop, start, stop.
No, but for this, you can keep going.
This one,
right. So for this, you can keep going. You go to the next town. You go to the next destination, like that.
Roads.
Right.
So you have it is on off road, but it is in open roads.
Okay.
You have a stretch of 2 kilometers. You can maintain your speed. I mean, and there's a lot to be seen. The other thing to say about the classic rally is a rally for legends. All the people who have done it and they have come to their peak, this is where they go.
Those who were the big shots
yes.
in the days of the Safari Rally, when the Safari Rally was Safari Rally.
Ian Duncan is there, Baldev Chaga is there, Flash Tundo is there, Frank Tundo, Flash's father is there, and all the other legends.
So that's what I was going to ask. What does it do for the stripes on your collar then, this particular rally? Because if you look at other sports, joining one tournament racks up points for you. What does this specific classic rally do for the competitors? What does it do then for your stripes?
Look, when you grow up,
when I grow up, or
you grow up in motorsports,
in the third person.
I get it. I got it. Thank you. Please.
And you've done everything else. This is where to place yourself. As I said, it's a race for the legends. The likes of Ken Block are coming here. I mean, it is so much prestige. There's nothing that can give you as much prestige as the East African Classic. In fact, I would actually compare it to the Dakar. Look at the people who are in the Dakar. they're the kind of people who are now in classic.
So people who are in the other rallies and in Formula One, and now they go to retire there.
Yes, you've done it all. This is where
So
you
Eric,
come to.
what have you done for you to now get here and say, this is my self-actualization?
Look, 2010 is when I started motorsports. I started with autocross. I did a few races in a buggy and couldn't handle, so to say. Then I went to Raid, Rally Raid, did a couple of seasons there. Decided to graduate to the Kenya National Motorsports Championship. We won the two-wheel drive championship in 2016. We won the Group N championship and the Division 1 championship in 2018. I've been driving in the Premier League, and I've also been driving in autocross, and I felt that it is now my time to get into something else. My son is already getting into the motorsport, so I need to
move.
I need to move and start stepping back.
I want to understand.
Yeah.
This is something I read about, but I don't fully understand. Okay, when you mention two-wheel,
Yes.
it's as opposed to four-wheel.
Yes.
Okay, that one I get.
Yes.
Now, you then mentioned the class.
Yes.
A, B, C.
Group N.
Yes.
Yes.
What determines this classification?
Okay. Now, this car classification and this driver classification.
Okay.
As a beginner driver, you'll start in Division 3. Okay? You graduate based on your speed. You come to Division 2, to Division 1, then you get to the Premier class. Last year and the year before, we were in the Premier class. We had come to the top 10, top 8 actually, so to say. Then this car classification, the beginner cars in...
What's a beginner car?
The beginner car is a less powered car. It is a basic car. It is what you would actually give to a young teenager. A car that they will not go and mess around with. Yes.
So, if I go to a showroom and
Yes.
buy a car,
Yes.
that is a beginner's car.
No.
Depends
It
on
needs
which
to be
car.
It needs to be prepared. There are regulations that govern. There are regulations that govern the class of the car that you can drive.
Okay.
So when we talk of a two-wheel drive car, number one, it is limited up to 3,000 cc engine capacity.
It can't go beyond 3,000.
No.
Okay.
No, that is in the regulations. Then it needs to be two-wheel drive, either front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive. Basically that's the qualification, and then the safety. Then from there you graduate to the four-wheel drive turbo cars. The four-wheel drive turbo cars is the likes of the Mitsubishi Evolution, the Subaru Imprezas. Again, there are regulations governing that, and that is a Group N car. They are the old homologated cars which were competing. Homologated. Homologation.
Homologation. Are we together?
See, we had this thing last week.
This word last
Homolo
week.
what?
Yes, okay. Okay, carry on.
The Group N cars were competing in WRC, I think, in the late 90s and 2000. Yes, that is when they are the top. There are regulations for them. There are restrictions on the size of the turbo that you can use. Must be maximum of 33 millimeters. Engine capacity is 2 liter. Four-wheel drive with center diff and all that. Okay. Then you come to what we are now calling the Rally 2, the likes of the R5s. There's Rally 2, there's Rally 3. Like the Ford Fiestas that Safaricom sponsored last year. So those are the cars that now qualify for the national championship.
So what do they put in these cars that is different from the other ones? Because clearly, at every stage, there are limitations.
Yes. Sasa, kuna hiyo mafuta ya ndege. You can use that upgraded fuel. Some use avgas, others use what we call racing fuel. It depends on the octane levels. The higher the octane level, the higher the combustion.
Oh, most certainly, and the higher the capacity for
Yes.
inflammability. Yes.
Yes. Then of course, is safety preparation. The car must have a roll cage. Suspension is upgraded. The cradles are
roll cage are those pipe things that
the
we
pipe
see in
things
the car.
that you see. Yes.
Billy up on
yes.
a roll cage.
That's a very, very important safety equipment in any rally car.
Meaning, given the speeds that you people do, it is already predetermined that you will roll.
Not that you will roll. You can. There's a possibility. Okay.
So should you roll?
Yes, should you roll, that safety cage should be able to continue there without any injuries. And by the way...
Is that why one sees drivers getting into the car through the window?
Well, it's not through the window, but it's something close to that. I think for your size, you need to be flexible a little bit to be able to fit in there.
I would probably need to get in through the windscreen.
By the way, that roll cage can actually take as much force as 10 tons.
Hey.
A helicopter can land there and
the vehicle will still be
That is how
stable.
safe that car is made. Now, it is a standard safety regulation for all rally cars across board. May they be for classic, may they be for national rallies, and may they be for, WRC.
Wow.
Okay? That's standard.
That's a basic. Gatimo, how long have you been in the racing world? Well, not since 1974.
Yes, clearly. Yeah, I've been in the car industry for over 30 years now, because I'm actually a mechanic by profession. And since then, I've been in the rally world and rally circles. My first good interaction with rally was Rhino Charge. And I started doing Rhino Charge in the year 2000. I did a couple of events. And one of the things that always fascinated me was how you'd go into the bush and start somewhere and end somewhere. That navigation for me was, in fact, my first Rhino Charge, I couldn't understand why our team decided to go that way and not this way, in the bush. So that fascinated me. But at the same time, it gave me a very good sense of navigation. I'm one of those guys, if you drop me somewhere, open my eyes, I'll just have to turn 360 and I know which side is north-south. Then after Rhino Charge, I was able to sit with a few drivers on some training rallies. Then Eric came one day and asked me to... Oh, but before that, I actually entered raids with a Suzuki. And
what is raids?
Rally raid is an off-road race that is done with now proper 4x4 cars. It's again done in secluded places with one of the focuses good navigation and off-road driving.
It is similar to Dakar, but
yes, but now on a small scale.
At a national level.
Yeah. I did that with my wife. That's how she got into rallying also. So she would drive and I'd navigate. It's a beautiful event because the scenery is out of this world.
You're still married?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Can you imagine? I am saying left. The other left.
No, she's a good listener, and yes, and of course she'd obey the husband's commands.
Oh my Lord! This could be a conversation about the entrenchment of the African patriarchy. But okay.
So after a few raids, then she got into rallying, and now I decided I didn't want to navigate her. And again, it was she also wanted to be navigated by a lady. She wanted an all ladies team, so she did the two-wheel drive championship for some time. But then now I moved on. I navigated Eric in the first event he did on the national championship.
Right.
That was Grunanak 2012. And we had so much fun. That's when now he had gotten into raid. And in raid, he had another navigator. So then when he got into two-wheel drive, I took a step back and wanted to enjoy what I do most, what I like most, which is repairing the car and being his team manager. So I was his team manager, both for Eric's team and my wife's team, while my wife was rallying. until I've been doing that until now Classic came calling. And when Eric was interviewing navigators, well, he knew that I was not going to, he didn't even want to ask me because I had hung my boots.
Yeah.
But again, age of the car. And one question he kept on asking the aspiring navigators, what is a Weber carburetor? Which he also didn't know. He had so when I answered it, there I was back on the navigator seat. Yes.
So we can just say that Eric knew he wanted you. So he came up with a question that nobody else would answer. And he was coming to prove to you, see, nobody else knows the Weber carburetor. Surely. Well, how are you going to leave me like this? I mean, we can't. Let's take a break at this point. We'll continue the conversation. Let's take a break. It's 27 minutes to 10. We are talking about the East African Safari Classic Rally that's about to kick off from the 10th to the 18th of February. And the Standard Media Group is the official media partner of this. We have two drivers in the studio with us. Well, one is Eric Beng. He's going to be driving and is going to be navigated by Gatimo Mindo. We are talking about that and what is the Safari Classic Rally. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Thank you.
The political class, the contestants, everybody is trying to outsteal the other.
Remorse is not taught in any school. Manners is something you get from your mother. You don't get it from your political party.
Why are we so unfocused as a country? Why are we spending money and resources, yet we have real challenges in this country?
This coronavirus pandemic should teach us one thing, that universal healthcare is critical. Because at this point, whether you have a medical card that covers you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's 18 degrees in Nairobi, highs of 22 and lows of 15 today. Cloudy conditions at 18 in Nakuru, highs of 21 and lows of 14. We're looking at cloudy conditions at 18 in Nyeri, highs of 24 and lows of 14. While in Eldoret, it's sunny at 16, highs of 19 and lows of 13. We're looking at sunny conditions in Mombasa at 30, highs of 33 today and lows of 25. While in Malindi, it's partly sunny at 29 with highs of 31. We'll see lows of 27. All right. Kisumu, raining at 19, highs of 25 and lows of 18. While in Kakamega, it's raining as well at 19, highs of 24 and lows of 16. Cloudy conditions in Kampala at 20, highs of 23 and lows of 17. While it's partly cloudy in Dar es Salaam at 29, it'll go to highs of 31 and lows of 27. Looking at mostly cloudy conditions at 25 in Lagos, highs of 32, while it's partly sunny in Johannesburg at 16, highs of 22 and lows of 15. Rain showers continuing in Kinshasa at 22, highs of 29 today. Out in Beijing, going into early Monday evening, it's 5 degrees and sunny, highs of 6 and lows of minus 11. It's a foggy morning in Paris at 3, highs of 7. And we're looking at cloudy conditions at 3 in London with highs of 9. 5 degrees and rainy still late Sunday night in New York. Coming into Monday, highs of 5 and lows of minus 2.
Spice up your life.
Traffic hours not ending early today, that's for sure. Quite a lot of traffic within the city and on the outskirts of the city as well. Everybody woke up this Monday morning and nobody did so late. Langata Road is causing problems this morning because of that weighbridge construction. Did I say weighbridge? I meant footbridge. Construction at the roundabout, and that's going to cause a bit of a headache for most parts of this morning. Gong Road is already quite packed. It started very early as well. Jogo Road hasn't let up ever since it started early this morning. Thika Superhighway still taking a hit as it did early as well. It's that Monday. It's manic, guys. And in all of it, we ask you to be extremely careful. Let us know if you find a good route. The bypasses have been working really well. Outer Ring today doesn't look too pretty, but others will help. Talk to us through the morning on SpiceFM KE. On Twitter, text 40127.
Spice FM, Nakuru. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
It continues at 23 minutes to 10. This is the Situation Room on SpiceFM and also on SpiceFM KE on Facebook and YouTube. Our guests this morning is Eric Bengi and Gatimu Mindo. They'll be participating in the forthcoming East African Safari Classic Rally between the 10th to the 8th and the 18th of February. Standard Group is the official media partner of this. Gatimu, you were telling us about how you got into this classic rally, when you started. How old were you when you first decided, let me go and do the rhino charge?
Okay, I did my first rhino charge the year 2000. Then I was about 26, 27. That's when I did my first rhino charge. Again, I got into a team of rhino charge by accident. I saw a weird looking car where I used to work, and I was wondering, what is it for? And these guys told me that they can't get the brakes running. Anyway, long and short is that I fixed the car, and they asked me to join the team. And no idea what it was until we got to Masai Mara. That was my first charge. And like I mentioned earlier, I couldn't understand why they were going that way.
Well, they were going east when they should be going south.
And then when we got there, after bush bashing, would come to a waypoint. So I'd ask myself, how do they know these guys were here waiting for us? And for me, that I needed to know and understand how that works. So in the following year, I knew how that worked, and we did a second charge. On the third rhino charge, which was in Samburu, 2005, our team we were third overall in what we call the Land Cruiser FJ 45 unmodified. It's a 3-speed car. Gear 1, gear 2, gear 3, and reverse.
It's a boda.
Kinda.
It's a tuk-tuk.
Yes, and the car was actually short. 6 grown men in a small car would crumble inside, and I mean, it was amazing. And yes, and after that, we continued a few rhino charges. I've not been to one for a while, but yes, so that actually now brought out the rallying spirit. We now went into raid with my wife in a Suzuki, the Suzuki Sierra. Lots of fun. Would actually sometimes stop in the section to take photos. Beautiful sceneries. So we did that for up to around 2009. 2010 is when my wife got into the two-wheel drive rallying. So that broke the raid side.
The pairing.
Yes. And then Eric was now doing raid also. So
he decided to join it.
I was busy now managing the teams.
One of the things that you kept repeating here is you at first you didn't understand why some decisions were being made. Now you're a navigator. What is it that a navigator does? What's the job of a navigator?
The first job of a navigator, first of all, is to guide the driver on where are we going. You know, these guys, these drivers, and I'm sure navigators listening will cheer me on this. Drivers have no idea. All they know how to do is to just step on the gas go. And they are all cooked in the same pot. So you need to know when to slow him, when to tell him to go fast, when to tell him to turn right or left. Trust me, if you make a wrong call, left instead of right,
it's you.
You end up in the bush. So you need to pace the driver. How fast do you want him to go? How slow do you want him to go? And to plan for the section. Actually, when we get like now for classic rally, when we get the road book, I actually sit down at a quiet corner and go through the notes. It's like I'm studying a book.
It's like you're studying for an exam.
Yes, I'm literally studying for the exam. And I will mark every junction. I will mark every corner. I will mark where we need to go a bit fast, especially slow. No, fast is not a problem because I want him to go. But the slow corners, that's what I need to mark, because trust me, when you're approaching a corner at 100 and then you find it's an acute corner, oh yeah, it's quite something. So that's the work of a navigator. Pace the driver and tell him where to go. And like the current driver I have called Eric Bengi. That guy knows how to put it on the metal. So
you tell him 20.
I do 20. Yeah.
I mean, it's all very interesting because all of this action is happening inside the vehicle.
Yes.
Right. But it's the thrill for those who are watching outside, those who are coming to certain parts of the circuit and seeing what's going on. There's a thrill, and I can see, over the years that it has gained in its momentum in Kenya, right? So what does this particular rally mean, and what can you encourage Kenyans who come out at the different stops, Nairobi as you're taking off, Naivasha, Nakuru going, what can you, encourage them to come out? Because, the way you describe it in the vehicle, I mean, there's a lot of action going on there, but then the action on the outside for people who will be watching is also a thrill. So what does it portend for those who are watching?
One would actually put it as, you see the way you if you notice crowds go to corners, to places where the car will come swinging and everything.
Yeah.
It's the same thrill inside the car. When I've called the note, and most of the time the navigator does not look at, because you want to make sure you're on the next note. But I need to feel that corner. So the way he takes the corner, okay, for me, I actually get excited. Sometimes I have to remember to tell him now the next note after we take the corner. Yeah, but the same thrill that the spectators see is what we feel when we're inside the car. That's actually the adrenaline drive inside the car. And when there's two things happen when you find a lot of spectators, that's not a good place. No spectator goes to a straight place.
Yeah.
Where you find a spectator and our legendary photographer, Abdul Sidi, if you see his camera,
this is a nice spot.
There's a nice spot and a dangerous spot at the same time. So what we do is encourage people to come out in large numbers to support the event and everything, because we're happy when we see crowds out there. It is quite thrilling. It is enjoyable to watch. And seeing a 1974 vehicle doing what almost a WRC 2021 car will do is not very close, but close to it. It's quite thrilling. Yes.
I want to ask this question. To get the car ready for the rally, what is the estimated amount of money that you actually invest in the car? Because you've already told me that I can't go to the showroom, buy a car, and then go here and put it in a rally.
I think for a classic car, it is about passion. Most of the people who are driving in classic, they'll actually tell you that they prepare the cars behind in their garages. It is the love for the car. It is the love for the detail. Yes, the biggest investment here is time. You need a lot of time to go through the nitty-gritty details and go through them properly to ensure that you are tip-top for the 10 days. The 10 days of rallying is not an easy thing. So let
me ask this question differently, okay? The tires that you use every day to drive around Nairobi, or wherever it is one lives, are not the same sort of tires you're going to use for the rally, okay?
No.
The shock absorbers that you have, which that car came with from Japan, are not the same shock absorbers you're going to use for the rally.
No, they are not.
The braking system, I think you get where I'm going with this one.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, look, let's put it this way. For an event like this, yes, you need to put aside a budget, give or take 3 to 5 million for preparation, logistics.
Does that include buying the car? Or
No. The car you
already have the car.
The car is prepared.
Then you put in an equivalent of another car into this car.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the fun of the game. That's why we have Standard coming in. Maybe you can sponsor 2-3 cars. Yes, you're now sponsoring the media. We have somebody else coming in, support 1 or 2 drivers, and it's for the fun of it and for the entertainment to the public and to the supporters and the spectators.
And when you say sponsorship, what does it mean?
Sponsorship comes in different ways. Like what you are doing is a great thing. You've come to do the entire coverage for this event, and to publicize it there to the people. You are giving a lot of visibility to the other sponsors who are supporting the different teams. East African Safari Classic actually has sponsored us the car. They actually give us the car. They have given us, they have sponsored us the entry and a bit of accommodation, which is, again, it's a very big thing. So with that kind of support, we can actually continue growing the sport.
You have a support team that accompanies you.
Yes.
What does this support team come with?
Number one, let's put it this way. First and foremost, you actually need a very organized support team. Because, and let me give you a visual of the classic. You need to have 3 sets of service crews. One of the
That's what they're called, service crew.
Yes. Yes. One will be at the main service, and 2 are running around in the remote services. Following you. In Classic, the setup is for roadside service, and 1 main service either at the end of the day. So those guys, they're the ones who put the fuel in the car, who repair if you have any breakdown. You change the tires at every other service. You need to check whether they are okay. In case there's anything that is broken, they need to replace. And there's quite a lot of logistical preparation that you need for that. Again, the cabin crew also need to be repaired. They need some food, they need some water, they need some juice, they need some, some energy to keep on going. So you have all those people around you, and they move with you from stage to stage. Those, I can say, they are the most important people in any race because they're the ones who keep you moving.
Are they volunteers or are they people who are paid?
If you're lucky to have volunteers, it is a big plus.
It's a blessing.
It's a big blessing. Otherwise, you may have to pay them.
Mutuma Marimba says the rally the driver is always under instructions, and he tells you, Eric, that I missed the red team with Bengi and Martin Kivuva. You should take CT for a spin on the Evo.
Yes, Mutuma is a navigator. That's a navigator speaking.
Mutuma is a navigator.
Right.
Yes.
So when you're talking about this 10 days and how much money basically you have to have on the side, how much support you need to have, how many people you need to interview and navigate the service crew and people who need to understand and have a passion on the job that is at hand. This is quite a lot of investment.
Yes, it's a lot of investment, but it also comes in as support from the other people. Like you've heard, we were sponsored. We've been sponsored partially for entry and a bit of logistics. Somebody else, one of our other sponsors, is also coming in with something else. So it is all, when you put all of it together, it adds up. For instance, and again, it also matters what message you are bringing out there. We have, for us, we are rallying against cancer, and we are supporting the cancer message that cancer is preventable, cancer is curable, and cancer is manageable. We also want to go out there and put in a positive message to the people, and to understand that you need to keep on checking, you need to check yourself, you need to keep on keeping healthy as much as you can. So for us, we are doing this for a purpose, and we are doing it for the passion of it.
Is there financial? Is there a commercial goal by the organizers? For example, the East Africa Safari Classic Rally organizers, like we see with the World Rally Championships, the FIA is basically looking at it as a commercial venture. This is how they will make money from rights, broadcast rights, they'll make money from others. Do the organizers of the East Africa Safari Classic make any money, to the best of your knowledge? I mean, is this motivated by commercial gain?
I don't know, but maybe not. I think for what East African Classic is doing is beyond the commercials. They have, for instance, if you had last the mini classic that we did in November, they actually sponsored entry fee and accommodation for driver and navigator for all the crews that participated.
Wow.
I don't think they really had any commercial gain out of that. I think they are very, very passionate for the sport. If you look at the input they did, including a very heavy breakfast at the start at Waterfront, I mean, this went beyond any imagination.
But you see, why we ask is, for them to spend the money, they must have money. So where does the money come from?
I don't know. Maybe you can interview them, they say. But for what they have done for the sport, and especially for the classic...
You feel this is the passion that's driving them. The motivation is passion for the sport.
Yes, absolutely.
You see, the commercial angle isn't a negative thing, actually. No, it isn't. I mean, this is a delightful sport. It's exciting. Yes. And this thing has been there for the longest time. People like myself remember it as children. And it was during Easter.
Yes.
It took 4 whole days. It was one of the most exciting things that you could actually witness.
I think. Sorry, go ahead.
So, no, I was going to say. I believe East African Classic Rally are driven by passion, because a lot of us in the rally circles actually do it for passion. You know, it's not for commercial gain. As much as I'm a mechanic, and as much as I run my business, I try as much as possible to ensure in whatever way that rally people are comfortable. I'm involved a lot in the autocross, where children start and everything. And at least every year, I make sure I help in one way or the other to ensure that somebody is enjoying the sport. And it's all about passion, be it transportation of the car to the event, in whatever small way. And again, what we do also in terms of the organization of the events, it's more of passion driven than any gainful monetary gain. If you look at even the people at the East African Classic Secretariat, you know, I was looking at a caption that the clerk of course put the other day, that he's done about 42,000 kilometers to just do this event. You know, if you try and think through it, well, no matter how much that guy you want to pay to compensate him,
you can't.
You can't. The knuckling is taken.
Yeah.
Oh.
But Katimo, is there, you know, at least commercial means that if they're able to make some money out of this event, then they're also able to finance and develop the event and market it better. Are there opportunities for making the East Africa Safari Classic a commercial event, a commercially viable venture?
I think so. Marketing, I think, would be a big thing. Advertisement, ring fencing on the rights, and selling the rights. Because let me tell you, the captions, the photos that you get out of the classic, it's out of this world. There's nowhere else you'll ever capture an antelope jumping over a car in the middle of a stage. Yeah, there's nowhere else you'll capture a monkey picking up a child in the middle of the road, and the race car is just there. So I think from that perspective, they can there's something they can do about it. Number two, yes, for the organization, there's entry fee. And like this event, I think is very well attended. I think there are about 48 entries. That's a good entry number. And with the international teams coming, there's also quite a lot that we can sell here in terms of selling the country, Kenya as a destination. I mean, it's beautiful. So but that does not mean that we cannot give them more support. They need more support. As Mindo has said, a lot of motorsport things are motivated by passion. And is what I was mentioning, the sponsorship of the Mini Classic, entry fees and accommodation for everybody. I mean, it's not anything that we witness every other day.
Yeah.
So it's a big thing in its own way. But yes, there are means and ways that they can also commercialize.
There's room
it.
for this.
Yeah.
So Eric and Gatimo, what car number will you be driving, and when shall we be able to see you?
Yeah, we'll be in car number 28. It has sunset colors, beautiful orange,
This is
light. Yes,
That's yellow.
That's
It's a
yellow.
sunset color.
Yes,
It's one of them.
It's a sunset color.
Yes, it is yellow fading. Is it fading or brightening to orange? Just like the shirt is there.
It's
All right.
Yes, cascading to orange. Yes,
Très bien, monsieur.
better English. Car number 28, Datsun 180B, as he mentioned. We're starting off from Naivasha, as I mentioned. First day, second day, we're in Nakuru. That fourth days, it's in Nanyuki.
Yes.
Fifth, sixth, 7 days, seventh day, we are in Amboseli, including the rest day. I think the rest day is on the fifth day. Then from Amboseli, we are going to Voi. That's on the 8th day, on the 7th day. Then either 9th day, we are in Watamu. So, across Kenya.
Yeah, it's crossing through the country. We wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
We wish you all the best, and thank you very much for joining us this morning. Eric Bengi and Gatimo Mindo will be participating in the same car number 28, Eric being the driver and Gatimo being the boss. East African Safari Classic Rally this year from the 10th to the 18th of February. The Standard Media Group is the media partner, official media partner. I mean, thank you very much for joining us, gentlemen. All the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation today from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. We'll be back tomorrow morning, same time, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Have a lovely day, folks. It's now 10 a.m.
Thank you.
Spice up your life.
The Spice FM Newswire is brought to you by InDriver. Choose your preferred driver, mode of transport, and negotiate your fare to your destination for a safe, comfortable, and affordable trip only with InDriver.